While others started school showing off Porsches, he started silently, riding a flying sword, simply because he was the only nascent soul stage powerhouse on Blue Star. That year, after graduating high school, he went exploring a barren mountain and accidentally entered the cultivation world through an ancient teleportation array. Due to his ordinary aptitude, it took him a full 2,000 years to cultivate from the chi refinement stage to the nascent soul realm, becoming the patriarch of a powerful sect. Just as the ancient teleportation array reopened and he was about to return to Blue Star for a visit, he was ambushed by a group of mysterious people. When he woke up again, he found his primordial spirit heavily injured, his dantian shattered, and his clothes reverted to his high school uniform. It turned out that 2,000 years had passed in the cultivation world, while on Blue Star, only a summer vacation had gone by. Just then, the Nokia in his backpack rang. As soon as he answered, he heard a woman's scolding voice. "You little brat. You haven't answered your phone all month. Where the hell have you been? You worried your mother to death." Hearing his mother's familiar voice, his nose tingled. After 2,000 years in the cultivation world, his parents had become a distant memory. He smiled gently and said, "Mom, it's so good to hear your voice again. What's this kid saying? Ethan, university is starting soon. Remember to go to Qingzhou and find Annie Kelly. Mom has some business, gotta go." After hanging up, he gave a bitter laugh. A nascent soul stage old monster like him going to university? Wasn't that a joke? Thinking this, he chanted an incantation, and his body rose into the air. But because his dantian was shattered, he couldn't absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy and quickly fell back to the ground. Looks like I can only walk down the mountain, he thought. At a cafe near Qingzhou train station, two beautiful girls had been waiting for a long time. Sherry Sue pouted and sighed. "I really don't understand. The company has so many people. Why did Mom make me pick up this Ethan Yee guy?" "Sherry, do you think Annie Kelly wants to set you two up?" Kara Dang said. "Kara, what nonsense are you talking about? A country bumpkin from a small county? How can my mom possibly take a liking to him?" Just then, a gentle male voice sounded behind the two girls. "Are you Sherry Sue, Annie Kelly's daughter?" The two girls jumped. "You're Ethan Yee?" Sherry Sue observed Ethan Yee. His clothes were muddy and dirty, and he carried an old, tattered backpack. A look of disdain was evident on her face. "This handsome guy? Do I really have to eat with this country bumpkin?" Sherry Sue suddenly had an idea. She pointed to her best friend, Kara Dang, and smiled. "Yes, she's Sherry Sue." Then she whispered into Kara Dang's ear. "Help me out with this, and I'll give you 3 Givenchy lipsticks." Ethan Yee heard everything clearly, but didn't mind. He rubbed his stomach, not because he was hungry, but because he could feel the spiritual energy in his body gradually depleting. He couldn't help but sigh. He never expected that a dignified, nascent soul stage cultivator would have to rely on ordinary food to maintain his cultivation. Following the two girls out of the cafe, Sherry Sue took out her car keys and pressed a button. A Porsche Panamera in the distance made a sound. She asked as if showing off, "Well, is this car good enough?" Ethan Yee nodded indifferently. "It's okay, just a bit slow." Hearing this, Sherry Sue was immediately displeased. "Excuse me, Mr. Yee, what kind of car do you drive?" He casually replied, "I don't have a car. I usually ride clouds, sometimes a sword." Hearing this, Kara Dang burst out laughing. "Hey buddy, you've been reading too many cultivation novels." Sherry Sue rolled her eyes. "If you think my car is slow, then hail a cab yourself. Let's see who's faster." Ethan Yee said calmly, "Okay." Sherry Sue didn't expect him to accept the challenge and was a bit surprised. "Are you sure? We're going to Intai City Mall in the west of the city for dinner. It's about 6 or 7 kilometers from here. Whoever loses pays for the meal. If you want to compete, let's compete." Seeing him agree, Sherry Sue smiled like a blooming flower, stepped on the gas, and sped away from the train station. Not long after the two girls left, Ethan Yee instantly turned into a blur and disappeared. His speed was so fast that even cameras couldn't capture it. A nascent soul stage cultivator moving in the city basically didn't need to use spiritual energy. Leg power alone was enough. In less than 2 minutes, his figure appeared at Intai City Mall. 1.5 of those minutes were spent asking for directions. 5 minutes later, the two girls arrived at Gate 1 of Intai City, certain they had one. They happily high-fived, completely unaware that Ethan Yee was already in the restaurant on the 5th floor, ordering food. This dish, this dish, this dish, not this one. For the rest, 10 portions of each. No, just 2 portions each will do. About 10 minutes later, the two girls arrived at the restaurant. Seeing Ethan Yee, both were stunned. "Ethan Yee, when did you get here?" "I've been here for a while. You two were so slow, so I came up and ordered first." "Miss Sue, I ordered quite a few dishes. You won't go back on your word, will you?" Sherry Sue was slightly taken aback, then sneered. "Nonsense. How did you get here so fast? You must have cheated." "That's right. We took the most direct route. You must have called the restaurant ahead to prepare the food, then snuck up here while we were waiting for you." Ethan Yee shook his head helplessly and called a waiter over to testify. "Mrs. This gentleman indeed arrived 15 minutes ago." Kara Dang still didn't believe it. 15 minutes ago. He was still near the North train station. Does he know how to fly? Forget it, Kara. If he won, he won. It's just a meal. Sherry Sue didn't want to argue anymore. In her heart, she had already labeled Ethan Yee a schemer. Initially, she had thought about befriending him, but now it seemed even friendship was out of the question. But when she entered the private room and saw the table full of food, Sherry Sue was completely dumbfounded. Flaming steak, shark fin soup, codfish with sea cucumber, papaya stewed with bird's nest, steamed grouper. There was even Buddha jumps over the wall. She couldn't help but be astonished. What is all this? Are we in the wrong room? The waiter pointed towards Ethan Yi. It was all ordered by this gentleman. Hearing this, Sherry Sue nearly went crazy. Ethan Yi, are you a pig? Why are you deliberately trying to provoke me? Ethan Yi shrugged innocently. I told you I have a big appetite. If you don't want a treat, it's fine. I can pay for it myself. No need. I, Sherry Sue, am a woman of my word. After saying that, she took out a black diamond-studded card and handed it to the waiter. The bill is 5,200 yuan. I hope you don't appear before me again. Thank you. Sherry Sue uttered this and pulled Karadang away. 5,200 yuan was nothing to Miss Sue. The problem was, she felt this jerk was deliberately provoking her. Since childhood, Sherry Sue had always been the center of attention wherever she went, the goddess in the hearts of countless boys, and her family treated her like a treasure. Why had she ever suffered such indignation? After the two girls left, he sat down and began to enjoy the delicacies. He tasted a few bites of each dish and then remarked, the taste is okay, but there's not a shred of spiritual energy. It's like chewing wax. He sighed. Sigh. Will I have to eat things like this from now on? Sherry Sue fumed all the way, cursing him, while Kara Dang was so hungry her stomach rumbled. She tentatively asked, Sherry, why don't we go back and eat something? After all, you paid for it. Sherry Sue suddenly stopped. You're right. I paid. Why shouldn't I eat? Just as she turned to go back, she unexpectedly met a young man. The young man's face lit up with a smile. Sherry, what a coincidence. You're at the mall too? We're really fated to meet. Sherry Sue looked at the young man in front of her, a flicker of barely concealed disgust in her eyes. This young man was her high school classmate. His family was influential, and he was a notorious school bully, also one of her pursuers. Howard, what are you doing here? Howard concealed the lustful glint in his eyes, trying to put on a polite smile. Of course, I'm here to hang out. Sherry, haven't you eaten yet? I know a newly opened French restaurant, 2 Michelin stars. I've already made a reservation. Would you two honor me with your presence? Sherry Sue noticed the strange look in his eyes and pulled Kara Dang, intending to leave. But Kara Dang had a mischievous idea. Sherry, why don't we let Howard join us? With his personality, he'll definitely clash with Ethan Yi. Then we could just sit back and watch the show. Wouldn't that be interesting? Sherry Sue's eyes lit up. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? Kara, you clever little devil. Sherry Sue turned back and forced a smile at Howard. Howard, how about I treat you to a meal? Howard thought he had misheard. He suppressed his excitement and asked, Great. Sherry, where are we eating? Over there. Ethan Yi was eating heartily. A moment later, Howard followed the two girls into the private room. Kara Dang looked at him in amazement. My God, Ethan Yi, are you a pig? How can you eat so much? Sherry Sue also stared, wide-eyed, because they had only been gone for a short while, and more than half of the 30-plus dishes on the table were gone. Ethan Yi stopped eating and said, Didn't you two already leave? Why are you back? Are you kidding? I paid, so I'm back to eat a little. What's wrong with that? What's it to you? At this moment, Howard, bewildered, pointed at Ethan Yi. Sherry, who is this kid? His name is Ethan Yi, the son of my mom's best friend. He just arrived in Qingzhou from Danyang today. My mom asked me to entertain him. Just as Kara Dang predicted, Howard's face immediately darkened. Hey, buddy, I'm talking to you. Are you full yet? He picked up a lemon chicken, tore off a drumstick, and ignored him. Hey, buddy, how about this? I'll give you 2,000 yuan. You go eat somewhere else, okay? Ethan Yi slurped a mouthful of lotus seed soup and muttered to himself, Needs more salt. Howard, seeing he was being ignored, angrily knocked the half-eaten lemon chicken from his hand. I told you to eat. Seeing the situation escalating, Kara Dang, with a mischievous grin, quickly pulled Sherry Sue back. At this moment, Ethan Yi slowly stood up, suddenly grabbed Howard's hair, and slammed his face into the bowl of carp soup. No matter how Howard struggled, his hand was like an iron clamp, holding him firmly in place. Sherry Sue, seeing things were getting out of hand, rushed over to pull Ethan Yi away, but he remained unmoved. Ethan Yi, of course, had held back. He just wanted to teach this rich kid a lesson. Remember, don't bother me when I'm eating. Letting go, he returned to his seat and continued eating. Although these worldly ingredients contained pitifully little spiritual energy, they at least replenished some of his expenditure. Howard collapsed to the ground, carp soup gushing from his mouth and nose, a few fish bones stuck to his face, crying out in pain. His eyes were full of resentment. Knowing he was no match for Ethan Yi, he spat out, You just wait? If you're so tough, don't leave. While slurping snail noodles, he casually replied, Okay, go call your people. Howard slammed the door and left. As soon as he was gone, Ethan Yi called the waiter and asked for the food to be packed up. By the time Howard changed his clothes and returned with his men, the 3 of them were long gone. Howard roared in anger. Ethan Yi, you bastard. This isn't over. I won't let you off. I'll make your life in Qingzhou a living hell. The reason he left was that he simply didn't care about Howard. He got into Sherry Sue's car and went to the Peony Garden Villa complex in Green City. a famous wealthy residential area in Qingzhou. Sherry Sue glanced at him through the rearview mirror, mentally adding violent to his list of labels. Soon, the car stopped in front of a detached villa. A dignified, middle-aged woman was already waiting there. As soon as Sherry Sue got out of the car, she ran over, her face aggrieved. Mom, next time, don't ask me to do things like this. You don't know, this Ethan Yee is a violent person. The middle-aged woman shook her head. What nonsense are you talking about? Ethan is a good, gentle, lively, and active child. Sherry Sue stomped her foot. He's just pretending to be good. At this moment, Ethan Yee walked over, carrying a bag of takeaway food. Auntie Kelly, long time no see. You're looking younger and more beautiful. Ethan, such a sweet talker. Oh my, you can't, that's enough. Why bring gifts too? Old fam, come help out. Auntie Kelly, butler fam, these aren't gifts. This is food Ethan Yee brought back from the restaurant. Auntie Kelly was stunned for a moment, then smiled brightly. Knowing how to save food, what a good child. Ethan, from now on, you must get along well with Sherry here. Just treat her like your own little sister. Hearing this, Sherry Sue shouted, Mom, what did you just say? When Sherry Sue entered the living room and saw several large bags of luggage, she completely broke down. Mom, you're not kidding, are you? Making me live with this violent guy? How am I supposed to sleep at night? Sherry Sue hurriedly looked towards Kara Dang. Kara, quickly talk to Mom. Otherwise, we'll both be in danger later. The Sue family and the Dang family were like that. Kara Dang had lived with Sherry Sue since middle school, and they were closer than biological sisters. Auntie Kelly, Sherry and I are both girls. It's not very convenient to suddenly have a boy living with us. Auntie Kelly smiled. I trust Ethan's character. At this moment, Ethan was looking out at the garden scenery, seemingly searching for something, completely unconcerned with the conversation. Sherry Sue went up to him and questioned. Say something. Don't just stand there like a clam. You don't want to live here either, right? He waved his hand dismissively. It's very good here. I want to stay. Auntie Kelly looked at his back and smiled. She turned to butler fam and asked, Old fam, what do you think? Madam, just as you said, this young man is indeed not bad, mature and calm. Hearing this, Sherry Sue hugged a pillow and sobbed. Butler fam, why are you also siding with this violent guy? Auntie Kelly called Ethan Yee out to the yard and advised, Ethan, this girl Sherry has been spoiled by me since she was little. You're the older brother, so be a little patient with her. She's not bad by nature. You'll understand once you get to know her. He nodded, then took an envelope from his bag, which he had just taken from his suitcase. It was full of cash. He said seriously, this is the rent. I don't know if it's enough. Auntie Kelly, please count it. Seeing this, Auntie Kelly immediately looked displeased. What are you doing? Staying at Auntie Kelly's house and still offering money? People who don't know might think you're mother, and I have cut off ties. Quickly put it away, or Auntie Kelly will get angry. Ethan, you put it back in his bag. After all, it was just a formality. Auntie Kelly smiled again. Ethan, if you really want to help, then at school, help me look after Sherry a bit. You know, she's pretty, so many boys are interested in her. Your mother said you climb mountains and exercise all day, so you're in good health. He listened, his head full of question marks. Sherry Sue is pretty? Why don't I see it? Actually, the main reason he chose to stay here was that he discovered the villa's location was on a spiritual eye, in an environment with such thin spiritual energy as Earth. This spiritual eye still retained a few traces of a spiritual vein. This was a rare and hard-to-find place. After Auntie Kelly left, he strolled around the yard. This detached villa was quite large, with an area of up to 400 square meters. It seemed the Sue family's financial resources were indeed astonishing. At this moment, Sherry Sue led a German shepherd aggressively towards him. Ethan Yee, I don't care what tricks you used to fool my mother, but you can't stay here. If you don't leave, I'll let Hei Lung bite you. But he asked an unrelated question. Which room am I in? If no one arranges it, I'll choose one myself. Sherry Sue, furious, immediately dropped the leash and pointed at him. Hei Lung, drive him out for me. The German shepherd barked and immediately rushed towards Ethan Yee. But then he just glanced at Hei Lung and its front paws slammed on the brakes. It desperately ran in the opposite direction, fleeing for its life back to its kennel, whimpering pitifully. Sherry Sue's face turned pale. She pointed at Ethan Yee. You kill someone? Otherwise, why would Hei Lung be so scared of you and run away? Hei Lung used to be a police dog. The corner of his mouth curled into a bright smile. Finally got a little smarter. Hearing this, Sherry Sue, terrified, threw down the leash, screamed, and ran back to the second floor. He whistled and returned to the villa, lying on the bed in the bedroom the butler had arranged for him, staring blankly at the ceiling. Now, the Nirvana Palace is shattered. The Dantian is shattered, and both the primordial spirit and the physical body are severely injured. Such injuries are very difficult to heal, even in the Little South Heaven realm. Fortunately, I still have 8,000 years of lifespan, so I can slowly think of a way. After much thought, he felt he only had two paths. Either find a mortal medicine to treat the Nirvana Palace on Earth, or find an opportunity to return to the Little South Heaven realm. Thinking for a while, he felt sleepy again. The injury to his primordial spirit had greatly weakened his mental state. He slept until 9 p.m. Sherry Sue deliberately didn't call him for dinner and even told the maid to throw away all the food he brought back. Left with no choice, he had to go out to find food. On the second floor balcony, Kara Dang watched his retreating figure and said, "Sherry, that guy's gone out." Sherry Sue had originally intended to force him to reveal his violent side, to find a way to kick him out of the house. Unexpectedly, he didn't fall for her trick. This made her so angry her cheeks puffed up. "Kara, ignore him. Tonight, we'll lock the door and let him sleep outside." He walked along the road to the University District, where there were many food streets. He casually chose a barbecue stall, Mei Li's Barbecue, and walked in, ordering several barbecue dishes. Then, he ate while reading web novels. The stall owner was a woman in her 40s. She was picking vegetables and smiling at her daughter. "Vivian, look at that young man. He looks tall and thin, probably your age, but he eats so much." He ordered over 600 yuan worth of food in one go. Her daughter, Vivian, who was helping pick vegetables, was pretty with fair skin, wearing an old high school uniform. She asked doubtfully, "Mom, aren't you afraid he's another Dine and Dasher?" "Oh, how could that be? We only get a few like that a month. Most customers pay their bills properly. A few a month is still a lot. We've worked for free for several days." The owner shook her head and sighed. "Vivian, there's nothing we can do. We can't afford to offend Howard's gang." Ethan Yee heard the mother and daughter's conversation, but continued to read his novel calmly. Soon, a group of people with brightly colored dyed hair arrived. At the barbecue stall, the stall immediately became noisy. Vivian saw this group, and her expression changed. She fearfully tugged at the owner's shirt. "Mom, hitch there here." The owner, seeing them, quickly waved her daughter away. "Quick, quick, hide in the kitchen." At this moment, a thug with a skull-patterned bandana and a thuggish expression walked past Ethan Yee, kicking over a few chairs. His name was Ken Ma, nicknamed Brother Cohen, a notorious protection fee collector in this area. The owner, smiling, hurriedly brought over the menu. "Big brothers, what would you like to eat?" "The usual, hurry up." He frowned, feeling it was a bit noisy, and used his vital energy to block his ears, continuing to read his novel. Ken Ma slapped Mei Li on the back. "Sister Mai, I'm telling you, you've still got some charm. Why stick with that weakling Harrison, too? You might as well be with me, Ken Ma. At least in this Shuiwei area, no one would dare bully you, right, brothers?" The 5 thugs at the table roared with laughter. "Brother Cohen, you're joking. My looks have faded. How could I catch your eye? Please wait a moment. I'll go to the kitchen and prepare it right away. Today, I'll treat you guys to an extra grilled fish." Ken Ma waved his hand, put his feet up on the table, and chatted idly with his underlings, the content of their conversation extremely vulgar. Initially, there were a few other customers in the stall. Now, they were all scared away by them. Seeing customers leave without paying, Vivian, hiding behind the cash register, couldn't bear it anymore. She covered her face with her uniform sleeve and ran out. A yellow-haired thug pointed at the fleeing Vivian and laughed loudly. "Brother Cohen, look, where did this pretty schoolgirl come from?" Ken Ma turned his head, his eyes instantly lighting up. Another underling said, "I think I've seen her before. She's Mei Li's daughter, usually studies at Nanshang High School, and only comes back once every few months. I didn't expect this old woman to hide such a pretty daughter and even send her to study in Nanshang, as if guarding against thieves. Let's see how I deal with that little girl later." Vivian, holding a few 100 yuan bills, was walking back when a hand snatched them away. She screamed, "What are you doing? That's my money. Give it back to me." "Give it back to you? How can you prove it's your money? Call it. See if it answers." Vivian didn't know how to respond. She could only look at Ethan Yee sitting at the next table, but he was still engrossed in his phone, showing no intention of helping her. Vivian bit her lip and glared at Ken Ma. "This is my money. Give it back, or I'll call the police." Hearing this, Ken Ma sneered and casually snatched Ethan Ye's phone. "Oh, call the police? Here, borrow my phone. Try calling." At this moment, Mei Li also saw her daughter being stared at by the thugs. Worried, she hurried over, smiling. "Brother Cohen, the food is almost ready. You can eat soon." Ken Ma slapped Mei Li across the face. "Eat my ass. Let me tell you, from now on, every shop on Shuei West Street has to pay an additional 4,000 yuan management fee each month. This is Brother Hao's order." At this point, Vivian hugged Mei Li and sobbed. Mei Li, despite the wound on her face, said in panic, "Brother Cohen, are you trying to drive my daughter and me to a dead end? For 1,000 yuan, where am I going to get that kind of money?" "Can't pay. Then let your daughter acknowledge me as her sworn brother. That way, you'll be my godmother. I guarantee no one on this street will dare bully you. How about it, Sister Mai? Brother Cohen, please spare my daughter and me. I'll kneel and beg you." Vivian is only 18 and just got into Qingzhou University. Seeing this scene, Ethan Yee remained indifferent. He had lived for 2,000 years in the cultivation world and witnessed countless similar events. Earth still had laws, but the cultivation world had nothing. If you were weak, you'd be robbed. If you dared to resist, you'd be killed. Massacring an entire village was done without a second thought. Could he save them? He stood up, dusted off his pants, and prepared to leave. "Ma'am, the bill. How much is it in total?" Mei Li looked at Ethan Yee in confusion. Vivian also found this young man very strange, but still said, "Total 530 yuan." Ethan Yee snatched his phone back from Ken Ma's hand, intending to scan the payment code. But this action angered Ken Ma. He raised his hand to slap Ethan Yi, muttering, "I'll let you scam a lie." He immediately grabbed his wrist and squeezed. With a crisp crack, Kinma's wrist bone snapped. He screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the five thugs aggressively rushed forward to attack Ethan Yi. He frowned, a little annoyed. Slap. A lightning-fast slap landed on each of the five thugs' faces. Slap, 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 slap. Five crisp sounds rang out. By the time Vivian and Mei Li came to their senses, he had already left. What just happened was just a casual act. He just wanted to go home and continue reading his novel. Unexpectedly, when he reached the intersection, Vivian, panting heavily, caught up with him. She propped her hands on her knees, dripping with sweat, and stood before him. "Are you an athlete? You walk really fast." Ethan, he said nothing. "If you want to thank me for what happened earlier, there's no need." Vivian was stunned, momentarily speechless. "Goodbye." After saying that, he turned and left. There was a time when Ethan, he was also a righteous young man, stepping in to help when he saw injustice. But doing anything for too long becomes tiresome. Some people he saved became dependent on him, even taking his help for granted. Vivian returned to the stall and saw Kinma's thugs, all with twisted mouths and contorted faces, being loaded into an ambulance. The jaws of all six were severely dislocated, and their bones had been set in place. In such a condition, unless they were broken again and reset, all of this was, of course, Ethan Yez doing a little bit of fun for him. Not only did Kinma have a twisted mouth and contorted face, but he also had crossed eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it, this isn't over." It was past 10 p.m. when he, carrying several large bags of food, leisurely walked back to the Peony Villa complex. Just as he inserted the key into the lock, he found the door was deadbolt from the inside. He sneered, his right index finger twitched slightly, and a stream of true chi flowed into the lock. Click! Then he opened the door silently and went straight to his bedroom. This scene truly astonished Sherry Sue and Kara Dang on the second floor. After some analysis, Sherry Sue concluded that he must have called a locksmith. "Kara, I don't care. You absolutely have to think of a way to get rid of this violent guy. Otherwise, we won't be safe in the future." Kara Dang quickly racked her brains. "That's right. Rent. We'll make him pay 10,000 yuan in rent each month. He's just a student. He definitely won't have the money." "Great idea. You go ask him. But 10,000 a month is too little. 20,000? No, 30,000. The next day was the university's opening day. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan stopped at the gate of Qingzhou University, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Sherry Sue stepped out of the car. She was meticulously made up, and the head-turning rate was almost absolute. Ethan Yi, on the other hand, was walking while reading a novel on his phone, yawning occasionally. Not far away, a male student with a DSLR camera around his neck stared at Sherry Sue, almost drooling. His name was Louis Liu, the vice chairman of the photography club. Louis Liu approached Sherry Sue with a lewd smile. "Hello, beautiful. You must be a new student, right?" Sherry Sue saw through his intentions with a glance and continued walking. "Little sister, don't misunderstand. We're from the school's photography club, specializing in taking photos for handsome guys and beautiful girls. I wonder if we could have the honor of taking a few pictures for you? Let me show you our account. It has 1 million followers." Sherry Sue glanced at it. "Then just take a few casual shots." A smile immediately appeared on Louis Liu's face. They went to a pavilion by the lake and started taking pictures. At first, it was normal. For every picture Louis Liu took, he would praise her, saying things like national beauty, heavenly fragrance, fairy descended to earth. In short, all sorts of flattery. But after a while, Louis Liu started requesting increasingly outrageous poses, making Sherry Sue angry. "Are you sick? I'm not taking any more pictures." After saying that, she turned to leave. But Louis Liu blocked her way. All right, if you don't want to shoot, that's fine. Then pay up." "Pay? Pay for what?" "Sorry, Junior. There are so many of us here. How can we waste your time without it costing anything? It's not expensive, 500 yuan per photo. You've probably taken over 100 photos. Please transfer the money." 500 per photo? Why don't you just rob people? You clearly approached me to take pictures." Kara Dang also felt disgusted. "Sherry, let's go. Don't bother with them. Go where? Either pose as I say, or pay up quickly." Sherry Sue stomped her foot, about to curse, when suddenly Louis Liu's feet dangled in the air, lifted from behind by someone, and then thrown far away, hitting a pillar of the pavilion, making him dizzy. Louis Liu clutched his face in pain and got up, seeing an unfamiliar face. Yes, it was Ethan Yi passing by. "What are you guys standing there for? Get him for me." But these photography club members, who only knew how to take pictures and flirt with girls all day, lacked training. Witnessing him lift a person with one hand, how would they dare to rush forward? He walked up to Louis Liu and kicked him again. "You want to deal with me?" Louis Liu was kicked until his nose bled. He clutched his nose and rolled on the ground, wailing. The other photography club members all took a step back in unison, their faces pale. If this were the little South Heaven realm, your head would have already fallen to the ground. Ethan Yi said something incomprehensible and then turned to leave. And so, Louis Liu was helped to the infirmary by his underlings, while Sherry Sue secretly followed Ethan Yi, muttering, "He's definitely not an ordinary student. Maybe he's a gangster." Kara, do you believe it? Kara Dang crossed her arms, her face full of admiration. I don't know, but he was really cool just now. Cool? He's not cool at all. Annoying to death. Sherry Sue wouldn't admit, even if she died, that this country bumpkin was handsome. A few dozen minutes later, Louis Liu, covered in bruises and smeared with red medicine, walked out of the infirmary. He immediately called his close brother from the Sonic Club. Hello, Brother Brandon? I got beaten up. You have to get revenge for me. The photography club members beside him all changed their expressions upon hearing this, because the Brother Brandon he mentioned was Brandon Zhao, the pillar of the Sonic Club. This guy was a ruthless figure at Qingzhou University. It was said he had practiced martial arts since childhood and had once won the city-level Sonic Championship. 10 ordinary people rushing him at once couldn't beat him. Moreover, his uncle was a school leader. As long as he didn't cause too much trouble, he could be protected. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that kid was doomed. He took Sherry Sue and Kara Dang to the art department classroom, looking annoyed. You two, keep a low profile. Don't cause trouble. I'm not your bodyguard. Kara Dang gave a playful military salute. Roger that, Captain Power. Hearing this, 3 black lines appeared on Ethan Ye's forehead. Captain Power? What the hell is that? You're so strong. From now on, I'll call you Captain Power, okay? He ignored her. Before leaving, he added, remember, don't cause trouble. I hate trouble the most. Sherry Sue heard this, crossed her arms. I'll do whatever I want. Why should I listen to you? If it weren't for Annie Kelly, I wouldn't care about you at all. He leisurely walked to the medical school classroom to register, then casually chose a seat, took out his phone, and continued reading his novel. Hey, buddy, what are you reading so intently? In front of him sat a chubby boy wearing glasses. He looked up. A novel. What novel is better than the campus bell? Let's get acquainted. My name is David Fong. You can call me Fatty Fong. He looked up at him. Ethan Yi, have you voted yet? Ethan Yi, vote for what? Not interested. You'll definitely be interested. The school forum is voting for the campus bell. Don't you want to see what the campus bells look like? One of them is even in our class. Really not interested. He felt the novel was more interesting. Having lived for 2,000 years, it wasn't like he never had a partner. No matter how beautiful a woman was looking at her for a long time, it was all the same. Fatty Fong said disdainfully, keep pretending. After saying that, he turned to talk to the tall guy at the next table. The tall guy's name was Sean Zhang, from a rural background, looking honest and simple. As soon as he heard he could see the campus bell, Sean Zhang immediately took out his phone and logged into the school forum. So, this is the Sherry Sue everyone's talking about? Wow, she's really beautiful. Even more beautiful than a celebrity. Celebrity? She wouldn't bother being a celebrity. Do you know the Sue group? Jason Sue is Sherry Sue's father. Hearing this, Sean Zhang was startled. Jason Sue? Is that the big businessman who often appears on TV? The Sue group has a market value of trillions. How much can a celebrity earn? At this moment, he casually said, you're mistaken. Sherry Sue's biggest dream is to become a celebrity. She's not as noble as you think. Very ordinary. Fatty Fong and Sean Zhang were simultaneously stunned. After a moment, they both burst out laughing. You talk as if you're very close to her. Just then, a group of people aggressively barged into the classroom. The leader was a burly young man with bulging muscles, hands on his hips, clearly not someone to be trifled with. A young man with cotton in his nostrils and a bruised face glanced around the classroom, then suddenly stared at him. Brother Brandon, it's him. He's the one who beat me up like this. The whole class was in an uproar. Beating up a senior from the second-year clinical class? Is there such an arrogant new student? All eyes turned to Ethan Yi. The burly young man stepped down from the podium and stomped one foot on the desk. You're Ethan Yi? I heard you're very arrogant. Sean Zhang, being a righteous person, spoke up. Senior, what are you doing? The burly young man slapped Sean Zhang. Sean Zhang, who was over 1.8 meters tall, was slapped so hard he became dizzy and had to hold on a desk to avoid falling. I'm Brandon Zhao from the Sonic Club. Get lost. Fatty Fong mustered his courage and said, Senior Zhao, is there some misunderstanding? Brandon Zhao sneered at Fatty Fong. Fatty, you want to try too? Slap. Another slap rang out. Fatty Fong squeezed his eyes shut in fear, but strangely, he didn't feel any pain on his face. An unbelievable scene appeared. Louis Liu, the vice chairman of the photography club, was now clutching his bright red face, rolling on the ground, wailing, Brandon Zhao, are you crazy? Why did you hit me? Brandon Zhao looked at his right hand and kept backing away, his face as if he had seen a ghost. I don't know. It wasn't me. He was still sitting calmly in his seat, his right hand under the table, his index finger twitching slightly. It really wasn't me. Brandon Zhao had just shouted when he suddenly threw a punch with his right fist, hitting Louis Liu, who had just gotten up, straight in the face. 2 cotton balls flew out, sprayed with nosebleed. Louis Liu collapsed to the ground. He casually stood up, shrugging as if it had nothing to do with him. At this moment, a pure-looking female student led 2 teachers into the classroom. Teacher, it's him. He wants to hit people in our class. The 2 teachers quickly escorted the Sonic Club members out. The female student walked up to Ethan Yi and asked worriedly, Classmate, are you okay? He looked closely. It turned out to be the daughter of the barbecue stall owner from last night. Her name seemed to be Vivian. Vivian's eyes were sparkling. She was about to talk to Ethan Yi when the head teacher suddenly walked into the classroom. Left with no choice, she had to return to her seat. After class, Vivian hurriedly went to find Ethan Yi, but found he had disappeared at some point. He found a quiet corner in the school and continued to leisurely read his novel. That evening, in Mei Li's barbecue stall, several fierce-looking thugs were forcing the mother and daughter to give them Ethan Ye's phone number. Half of these thugs had twisted mouths and contorted faces. The leader was Ken Ma, who also had crossed eyes, looking very comical. But Mei Li and Vivian couldn't laugh. No way, Brother Cohen. A customer's contact information is private. I can't give it to you. Please spare my daughter and me. Private my ass. That kid beat me up like this. If I don't deal with him, how can I still have face on the street? Just then, Ethan Ye's voice came from the entrance of the stall. Are you looking for me? The thugs turned their heads and saw him, hands in his pockets, casually walking into the stall. You brat. You still dare to show up? Kim Ma pointed to his crossed eyes. Even the hospital can't fix this. Tell me, did you play some dirty trick? It was me. If you have something, aim it at me. Come on, all of you together. Don't waste any more time. I haven't eaten yet. So arrogant, huh? Brothers, get him for me. Kim Ma pulled out a 3-section staff from his belt and led 10 underlings to charge. Seeing this, Vivian, not knowing where she found the courage, shouted, Ethan Yi, don't be reckless. Run. But immediately after, she witnessed something miraculous. She only saw him throw a punch, and a thug collapsed. The 3-section staffs, hitting his body, seemed to cause him no pain at all. In an instant, 10 thugs were lying on the ground. He pointed at the thugs on the ground and warned, I'm Brandon Zhao from the Qingzhou University Sanda Club. Don't let me see you on this street again. Otherwise, I'll beat you every time I see you. Mei Li and Vivian were completely dumbfounded. Security in the Shueihua district was very poor, and they often witnessed fights, but they had never seen anyone so strong. One person fighting 10? Could he be a martial artist like those mentioned online? Vivian walked up to Ethan Yi and asked with concern, Ethan Yi, are you okay? I saw you get hit by a staff just now. He dusted off his clothes. I'm fine. Actually, he could have easily dodged it just now, but felt it was unnecessary. After all, even bullets couldn't penetrate his true chi. All right, besides barbecue, what else do you have here? Mei Li hurriedly smiled and said, Yes. What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Seeing this, he joked, I want to eat dragon meat. Mei Li was immediately stunned. Realizing he had misspoken, he quickly corrected himself. I want to eat stir-fried beef. Okay, I'll make it right away. Mei Li turned and went into the kitchen, even winking at Vivian, as if implying something. Over there, the Shueihua Street thugs were hospitalized again. An underling clutched his face and asked doubtfully, Brother Cohen, why is that Ethan Yi guy so powerful? His fists are as heavy as lead weights. Kin Ma's face was swollen like a pig's head, his crossed eyes filled with anger. I guess he learned martial arts at Shaolin Temple. Maybe he even practiced his Golden Bell Shield or something. Hearing this, the underlings were all bewildered. What? Golden Bell Shield? Impossible. Didn't you see us hitting him with staffs, and he didn't react at all? Damn it. No, I have to call Brother Hao. This can't. Just be let go. After saying that, he picked up his phone. On the other end of the line, Blake Bai, after hearing the whole story, immediately flew into a rage. Useless. All of you are useless. You can't even beat a student. I'm wasting food on you. Kim Ma felt very wronged. Brother Hao, that guy practices Golden Bell Shield and Iron Shirt. I hit him with a staff, and he didn't react at all. Where's that guy now? I'll immediately send Barry and Larry to him. Hearing this, Kim Ma was startled. Brother Hao, no need to be so ruthless. After all, he's just a student. What nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up and tell me. He's at Mei Li's barbecue stall eating. He probably hasn't left yet. Blake Bai immediately hung up. At this moment, a coquettish female voice sounded beside him. I say, Brother Hao, do you really need to send Barry and Larry to deal with the student? They're our gang's top fighters. What do you understand? Shueihua Street is a fat piece of meat. So many gangs in Qingzhou are eyeing it. Do you really think that guy is just a student? In my judgment, he was definitely sent by some gang to cause trouble. The woman was stunned for a moment, then suddenly understood and smiled. Brother Hao is still the wisest. At Mei Li's barbecue stall, Vivian looked at Ethan Ye's appetite and really couldn't hold back anymore. Hey, you eat too much. Because the plate of food in front of him was piling higher and higher. He had already eaten over 1,000 yuan worth of food before stopping. Not because he was full, but because if he ate any more, he was afraid he'd be considered a monster. He stood up, intending to scan the code to pay. Mei Li hurriedly stopped him. Young man, thank you for your help these past 2 days. This meal is on me. Ethan Yi waved his hand. No need. He knew what Mei Li was thinking. It was just that she wanted to ask him to protect them. But he was someone who extremely disliked trouble. If it weren't for Mei Li's good cooking skills, he wouldn't have come to this stall a second time. After paying, he turned and left. On the way, he thought about a problem. At his current eating speed, the 20,000 yuan living expenses his mother gave him would soon be gone. Where to make money now? Turn stones into gold and create a mountain of gold? Or refine magical artifacts and sell them at high prices? Or find super rich people on the verge of death and perform magic to help them prolong their lives. But doing these things seemed to consume the already scarce spiritual energy. He sighed and suddenly turned into a dark alley. At this moment, in the distance, two men in black coats were following him. He's running. Quick, after him. As the two men entered the alley, his cold voice sounded. Looking for me? The two men in coats, hearing this, looked at each other in surprise. We've been discovered. Brandon Zhao, right? To be able to discover us, tracking you. You are indeed a martial artist. He put both hands in his pockets and smiled. If you have something to say, say it. Who sent you? The man in the coat on the left lifted his hood, revealing a scarred face. At this moment, if there were gang members here, they would definitely recognize him. He was Barry Tran, one of Brother Hao's two top fighters. He took out a dagger from his clothes, the blade glinting coldly. Kid, this is what we should be asking you. Foresees gang? Azure Dragon? Society? Tiger Gate? Speak. Which side are you on? Seeing this, he sighed, then answered seriously. I am from the pure Yang Infinite Palace. Barry Tran, holding the dagger, shouted. Pure Yang Infinite Palace? Are you telling me a myth? Believe it or not, I'll deal with you right now. Brother, Barry Tran, Larry Tran spoke up. Barry, don't waste words on him. Take him back and beat him up. Let's see if his bones are harder or our sticks are harder. As he spoke, Larry Tran bent slightly and shot out like an arrow. He glanced and recognized that this man's physique was 10 times stronger than ordinary thugs, but still far below the lowest chi refinement stage standard. He met him head-on and delivered a kick. Larry Tran didn't expect Ethan Ye's speed to be so fast. He was kicked in the chest, breaking several ribs and spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. Barry Tran, seeing this, was horrified and also rushed forward with his dagger, shouting, I'll take your life. But he didn't dodge at all, reaching out to snatch the dagger right in front of Barry Tran, crushing it into scrap metal, and even sneering, you're not even as good as your brother. Barry Tran had never seen anything so terrifying, his face pale with fear. He flicked his right index finger. A transparent strand of true chi radiated from his fingertip, connecting to Larry Tran lying on the ground. He stiffened, got up, and found that his body was uncontrollable. Brother, get out of the way. I can't control myself. What the hell is this? As soon as he finished speaking, Larry Tran suddenly threw a punch, hitting Barry Tran beside him until his nose bled. And so, the two brothers fought wildly, beating each other black and blue, even suffering concussions. He turned and left the alley, casually calling the police. Hello, officer. I saw people fighting in the alley. They're fighting fiercely. It's scary. Ethan Yee strolled back to the Peony Villa complex. As he stepped into the living room, he unexpectedly found Sherry Sue's father, Jason Sue, visiting. Sherry Sue was acting coquettishly on the sofa, repeatedly calling Daddy in a spoiled tone like a 3-year-old. Seeing him return, Sherry Sue's expression immediately changed. She crossed her arms and legs, resuming her arrogant demeanor. Jason Sue walked out of the living room, his sharp eyes observing Ethan Yee. You are Ethan Yee? He greeted politely. Hello, Uncle Sue. I heard about what happened today. Ethan, thank you for helping Sherry out. Your mother and Sherry's mother are best friends. Naturally, I also hope that you and Sherry can become good friends. Dad, I don't want to be friends with him. He raised his hand in agreement. I don't want to either. Furious, Sherry Sue threw a pillow at him. Who do you think you are? Countless people want to be friends with Sherry Sue. Ethan Yee tilted his head slightly and dodged. Don't worry. We'll be separated in 3 months at most. Separated? What are you talking about? As if I'm dating you. Jason Sue gave a wry smile and called him out to the yard. As they moved from the light into the darkness, his expression gradually turned cold. Ethan Yee noticed this and asked directly, Uncle Sue, if you have something to say, just say it. Jason Sue changed his expression to a serious one. Ethan Yee, actually, I didn't approve of you moving in here at first. Because Sherry is the apple of the Sue family's eye. Living with a young man in his prime, if this news gets out, it will definitely cause a considerable stir in Qingzhou. Ethan Yee was a little confused. Then why not just kick me out directly? 2 reasons. First, my wife likes you very much. She even wants to set you and Sherry up. Second, Sherry told me you were very strong. Have you practiced? Ethan Yee admitted frankly, I've practiced a little. Old Fam has also practiced the 8 Extremes fist. Do you dare to spar a few moves with it? This matter, you'll have to ask him. Haha, young man, not old in age but quite bold in tone. Butler Fam clasped his hands behind his back and smiled. Have you heard of internal energy? Hearing this, he shook his head. What internal energy? Never heard of it. You've never even heard of internal energy? It seems you're just an ordinary martial arts enthusiast. Butler Fam secretly shook his head. Then, he reached out his hand, his 5 fingers slightly curled, and made a grabbing motion in the air. Crack! 5 deep finger marks, half an inch deep, appeared on a ginkgo tree in the yard. See? This is internal energy. Only martial artists who have cultivated martial arts for decades can reach this realm. This is called a martial general. In ancient times, they could charge through enemy lines and fight 100 men. Ethan Yee was somewhat dismissive. Isn't this just internal force? But he suddenly thought of something and asked, Butler Fam, what realm is above internal energy? Seeing he wasn't scared, Butler Fam secretly nodded in approval. Very calm temperament, not bad. Young man, don't be too delusional. An internal energy martial general is already 1 in 10,000. In ancient times, passing the martial arts imperial examination would be as easy as flipping one's hand. To cultivate internal energy like me, one must first cultivate external energy. Even with top-tier aptitude, it would take 10 years of hard training. Ethan Yee felt a little impatient, thinking to himself, this old man talks a lot of nonsense. Jason Su lowered his voice and asked softly, Old fam, what's the verdict? Chairman, he could be a bodyguard for the young miss. Dealing with ordinary thugs shouldn't be a problem. After hearing this, Jason Su nodded with satisfaction. Ethan Yee, I'm giving you a mission. At school, protect Sherry, just like today. Can you do it? He couldn't help but laugh inwardly. Understood. This is the second reason he's keeping me. Letting a nascent soul stage great cultivator protect a female student? Interesting, very creative. That's right. This way, I don't have to argue with my wife, and you can also stay. It's a win-win. In addition, I will pay you a monthly salary of 10,000 yuan. Boys your age are probably very short of money, right? I'm just an ordinary student. Uncle Su, you should still find someone more capable. After saying these words, he left. Let him protect Sherry Su. Just living with her was already suffocating. Jason Su's facial muscles twitched slightly, thinking to himself, does this kid really think? He's a big shot. Butler Pham, beside him, also shook his head. The Su Group is one of the top 10 enterprises in Qingzhou. The Su family is also a well-known, prestigious family in Jiangnan. Such a good opportunity to rise up the social ladder was right in front of him. Yet this kid missed it. What a pity. Qingzhou University Affiliated Hospital. Blake Bai looked at Larry Tran and Barry Tran lying in hospital beds, needing oxygen, and his face darkened. These two brothers had lost consciousness, and it was unknown when they would wake up. A woman with wine-red dyed hair walked up to him and complained, it's been investigated clearly. This Brandon Zhao is indeed a member of the Qingzhou University Sonda Club, and a core member at that. His parents are ordinary people with no background. He only has an uncle who is the director of education. The speaker was Nancy Wong, Blake Bai's mistress and secretary. A Sonda student being so formidable? This is like seeing a ghost. Blake Bai gritted his teeth, clenching his fists. Nancy, call people for me. If 1 isn't enough, then 10. If 50 isn't enough, then 100. I don't believe this Zhao guy is Superman. Nancy Wong frowned slightly, seemingly disagreeing with this decision, but she still nodded. After the first week of orientation, the first-year male students would enter the military training phase. Under the command of the young drill instructor, 50 students from the second clinical class sat sprawled on the ground. They were all groaning about how tiring the horse stance was. Complaints filled the air. The young drill instructor saw this and shook his head. Students nowadays are too spoiled. They can't even endure a horse stance for 40 minutes. Truly useless. Faced with such disdain, a few male students in the class were clearly unconvinced. A short-haired male student raised his hand and stood up. Instructor, you can't generalize like that. A horse dance is nothing to me. I go to the gym every day, sing, dance, play basketball. My physical fitness is probably no worse than yours. The young drill instructor smiled. Oh really? What's your name? The short-haired male student puffed out his chest. Kevin Lu. Many female students in the class now looked at Kevin Lu with astonished eyes. He was also on the side, enjoying the show. The young drill instructor felt he needed to teach these students a lesson. If you're not convinced, do you dare to compete? Sure. What do you want to compete in? Then let's do push-ups. Kevin Lu patted his chest, revealing his firm muscles. No problem. The two quickly got into a push-up position on the ground, side by side. The rule of this competition was simple. Whoever couldn't hold on first, lost. Students from nearby classes heard that a student was competing with the instructor and gathered around with interest. Initially, Kevin Lu could still keep up with the instructor's pace, and his movements were considered standard. But by the 80th push-up, he started to lose steam. At this moment, Kevin Lu looked up to the side. This glance almost scared him to death because that young instructor was actually doing push-ups with one hand. Seeing this, Kevin Lee's face turned red, and he directly lay flat on the ground. He had lost, completely convinced. Kevin Lu returned to the ranks. The young drill instructor asked again, anyone else unconvinced? You can come out and practice. Seeing no one speak up, the young drill instructor added, if you beat me, you could be exempted from military training. Hearing this, Ethan Yee raised an eyebrow. Since he said so, then he had no choice. Fatty Fong, sitting next to him, urged Sean Zhang, Sean, you're so strong, why don't you give it a try? Sean Zhang quickly shook his head. I could do 70 push-ups at most in one go. One-handed push-ups, 2 at most. Won't the instructor beat me in a heartbeat? The young instructor narrowed his eyes and waved his hand. All right, if no one is up for the challenge, then continue training. At this moment, a student suddenly raised his hand. Boom! Instructor, I want to try. The young drill instructor looked at him suspiciously. Are you sure? Instructor, does what you just said count? If I beat you, I don't need military training. It counts. Of course it counts. But you have to beat me first. Don't worry, just do the okay gesture. And that's enough. Stepping out of the ranks, he began to compete with the instructor. Kevin Lu said to a few male students in the same dorm, if he can beat the instructor, I'll live stream myself eating that for everyone to see. A round-faced female student wearing glasses curiously asked Vivian, Vivian, do you think Ethan can win? Vivian nodded slightly. I believe he can. Very quickly, the competition began. When the number of push-ups on both sides exceeded 50, the young drill instructor started to show off, switching from 2 hands to 1. He secretly sneered, Kid, you're still too young to compete with me. I hold the push-up record for the entire company. Then, he turned his head to look at Ethan Yi, and cold sweat poured down like rain. Because at this moment, he was doing push-ups on the ground with one little finger. Everyone around gasped in amazement. Oh my god, 1 finger. Am I seeing things? Isn't this the legendary 1 finger's in? And it's the little finger. Terrifying. Kevin Liu, who had always been proud of having the best physique in the class, now had a face as red as if someone had slapped him several times. The young drill instructor stared at him as if looking at a monster. Who on earth are you? He stood up, and for a moment, couldn't think of a good reason, so he borrowed Kevin Lee's words. I go to the gym every day, sing, dance, play basketball. My physical fitness was gradually built up like that. Fatty Fong and Shan Zhang looked at each other in astonishment. They never expected Ethan Yi to be so strong. No wonder he dared to beat up seniors. And Vivian, the belle of the medical school, looked at him with an adoring gaze. Kevin Liu was so angry, he gritted his teeth. Is this kid deliberately trying to embarrass me? He asked the instructor, Instructor, if there's no problem, I'll be going. The young drill instructor hurriedly said, I was just kidding. You can't skip military training. Hearing this, Ethan Yi was immediately displeased. What do you mean? Are you trying to trick people? In the end, this matter escalated to the chief drill instructor. Considering his reputation, the chief drill instructor actually made an exception and allowed him not to participate in military training. He left, satisfied. The 40-something-year-old chief drill instructor looked at his retreating back and muttered, This kid is not simple. He's not afraid at all in front of me. Chief instructor, isn't this inappropriate? I'm afraid other students will have opinions if they find out. Opinions? What opinions? If any of them can do 10 consecutive 1-finger push-ups, they also don't need to participate in military training. I said this. He went for a walk outside, changed his clothes, then went to the school supermarket to buy an ice cream. He ate it while walking. Passing by the basketball court, he found a shady spot, sat down, took out his phone, and read a novel. The first clinical class was having military training nearby. Sherry Sue and Kara Dang were very surprised to see his figure. But in the next second, Sherry Sue's face turned purple with anger. She was sunbathing here, while this guy was eating ice cream and resting. Is this bastard deliberately trying to provoke me? A day of military training passed quickly. He accidentally fell asleep under a tree. Because he wasn't wearing a military uniform, the instructors all thought he was a second-year student and didn't bother him. At this moment, Louis Liu and Brandon Zhao happened to pass by him. Neither of them noticed him. Louis Liu said angrily, Brother Brandon, there's something strange about that Ethan Yi. Next time, we have to call more people. We must teach him a lesson. Brandon Zhao snorted coldly. Last time, it was because I practiced incorrectly. Next time I see him, I'll definitely beat him to death. The two of them walked out of the school gate together, accompanied by 2 pretty girls they had just met. They were all planning to go to a bar to have fun, but they had just left the school gate and hadn't gone 2 streets when a group of thugs, armed with weapons, rushed out from an alley and surrounded them. Louis Liu was so scared he trembled and quickly hid behind Brandon Zhao. Oh my god, Brother Brandon, what's going on? Brandon Zhao was also scared and kept swallowing saliva. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. This is probably a gang fight. This is very normal. It has nothing to do with us. We just need to pretend we didn't see anything and sneak away. Brandon Zhao led the group, hunched over, moving towards the entrance of the alley under everyone's gaze. The eyes of the 40 or 50 thugs also moved with them. The alley was quiet and very scary. Louis Liu trembled and said, Brother Brandon, I don't feel good. Why do I keep feeling like they're looking at us? What nonsense are you talking about? Brandon Zhao turned his head, about to scold him, when he saw a blonde thug in a floral shirt, holding a cleaver, walk over. Without saying a word, he kicked him straight in the face. The blonde thug with the cleaver pointed at him. You're Brandon Zhao, right? I heard you're very good at fighting. You even put our brother Bao and brother Lang in the hospital. Very good. Brandon Zhao clutched his bloody face and kept shaking his head. No, big brother. You got the wrong person. 2 underlings immediately stepped forward, searched his pockets, and took out his ID card. The blonde thug picked it up, looked at it, crack, broke it, and threw it in his face. Brothers, he is Brandon Zhao. Beat him to death for me. The scene was chaotic. 50 or 60 thugs rushed forward simultaneously. Even a Tyson/effortful other couldn't withstand it, let alone Brandon Zhao. After beating Brandon Zhao and Louis Liu to a pulp, the blonde thug sneered, Ha! Brandon Zhao from the Qingzhou University Sonic Club is just this much. Brothers, let's go. After saying that, the blonde thug laughed and led his men away, leaving only one person lying flat on the ground, with more than a dozen broken bones. On the way, the blonde thug with the cleaver called Blake by, his tone arrogant. That Brandon Zhao has been crippled by me. He'll be bedridden for at least half a year. In a nightclub, Blake by stood up excitedly. Really? Kyle Yong, you're not lying to me, are you? The blonde thug, Kyle Yong, sneered. I even broke his ID card. Brother Kyo, if you don't believe me, I'll go back now, grab him by the neck, and take a few more pictures for you. Blake Bai laughed heartily with joy. Ah, very good, Kyle Yong. I didn't realize your abilities before. I didn't expect you to have talent too. After Blake Bai hung up the phone, Nancy Wong asked with some doubt. Was Brandon Zhao dealt with so easily? Brother Kyo, could Kyle Yong have made a mistake? Don't worry, no mistake. His ID card was checked. Besides, there were 40 or 50 people, and they were armed. Even if Wong Fei Hong or Ip Man came, they would have taken a few hits, let alone him. Hearing this, Nancy Wong nodded. At this time, he was still sleeping soundly on the basketball court. He vaguely heard someone calling him. He woke up groggily, rubbed his eyes, and thought to himself, my primordial spirit is too severely injured. I've been sleepy lately. If I were in the little South Heaven realm and slept outdoors without setting up a formation, I'd be dead 8 times out of 10. The person calling him was Vivian. She asked with some curiosity, Ethan Yi, why are you sleeping here? He waved his hand, stood up, and stretched. Nothing. I accidentally fell asleep. Let's go to your place to eat something. I'm hungry. Vivian's face lit up with joy. Okay. So she followed behind him, and they left the school together. At the school gate, they happened to see the Su family's Rolls-Royce driving out. Kara Dang saw him, and, surprised, patted Sherry Su's shoulder. Sherry, look quickly. It's Captain Power. He's with a very pretty girl. Captain Power started dating on his first day of school. Sherry Su instinctively looked over and found him talking to a pure and lovely girl. She suddenly felt annoyed for no clear reason. Kara, next time you see that guy, don't get so excited. He's not some big shot. Is he worth you making such a fuss? Kara Dang stuck out her tongue. All right. Outside the food street, Vivian was walking with him, chatting. When they reached Mei Lee's barbecue stall, she suddenly heard her mother's crying and the savage laughter of several thugs coming from inside the stall. She hurriedly ran in. He also frowned, thinking to himself, it's those thugs again? Inside Mei Lee's barbecue stall, the thugs led by Kin Ma were wrecking the place. Mei Lee sat slumped on the ground, crying bitterly, but she could do nothing. Kin Ma said arrogantly, you stinking woman, let me tell you, that Brandon Zhao guy has been crippled by our brother Kyo. He won't come to help you anymore. At this moment, Vivian ran and crying and angrily threw herself at Kin Ma, punching and kicking wildly. Just as Kin Ma was about to slap Vivian, he saw a figure standing at the door, which immediately scared him back 3 steps, muttering, "You, why are you here?" Only to see Ethan Yi, hands in his pockets, casually walking in. The words he spoke made them feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. I told you, why are you people so clueless? Although Kin Ma didn't understand what was happening, he reacted quickly, hurriedly bowing and scraping, smiling obsequiously. Brother Brandon, this is all a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding my ass. After he finished speaking, he sent a kick, directly kicking Kin Ma from the front door all the way to the back kitchen. Thud! There was no more movement. The crowd and the thugs who witnessed this were dumbfounded. Kicking someone flying more than 10 meters with one kick. Wasn't this too absurd? But they didn't know that he had tried his best to restrain his strength. Otherwise, with one kick from a nascent soul stage cultivator, let alone one person, the entire street could be blown away in an instant. The remaining thugs immediately knelt before him. He looked at them and said calmly, "It seems today I have to thoroughly resolve this once and for all." Half an hour later, at Diamond, the largest nightclub in the West City district, he escorted a bloodied Kin Ma here. In the luxurious VIP room of the nightclub, Kyle Yong was holding a microphone, screaming. Suddenly bang, the door of the VIP room was kicked open. He threw Kin Ma to one side, his eyes sweeping around the room. "Who is Brother Kyo?" Kyle Yong patted his chest and said through the microphone, "I am your father. What do you want?" Hearing this, he said nothing. His figure flickered and rushed in front of Kyle Yong, slapping him repeatedly. Each slap sounded like a firecracker. Because his speed was too fast, by the time Brother Kyo and Nancy Wong reacted, Kyle Yong had already been beaten into a pig's head, his nose bleeding profusely, all his front teeth knocked out. Seeing this, Blake Bai roared, "Kill him for me." The dozen or so thugs in the VIP room immediately obeyed and rushed towards him, only to hear continuous thwack, thwack sounds. In less than a minute, there was no standing room left in the VIP room. It was almost entirely covered with people. Blake Bai slumped onto the sofa, looking at him in astonishment. Who on earth are you?" "So you're that, Brother Kyo? I heard you're always looking for me. You're Brandon Zhao?" "No, you're not him. Kyle Yong was tricked by you." "Who on earth are you? You have some brains, I'll give you that. But you're not qualified to know who I am." After saying that, his figure flickered, and in the next second, he was sitting next to Blake Bai. Nancy Wong cowered in the corner, her pupils contracting, silently exclaiming at his incredible speed. Blake Bai was also terrified. He let out a strange cry and tried to run, but he was firmly grabbed. "You just need to know that I often eat at Mei Lee's barbecue stall. If you dare to send those small fries to bother me again, I'll smash your dog head. Understand?" Blake Bai was so scared he was speechless for a long time. Seeing he didn't answer, he delivered 3 slaps that felt like they came from heaven. Blake Bai immediately coughed up blood and screamed like a stuck pig. Understood. Also, I've been a bit short on cash lately. Give me an extra 20,000 as compensation for my mental distress. Quick, Nancy, quickly transfer the money to him. Nancy Wong stood up trembling from the corner, took out her phone, and asked, Big brother, what's your bank account number? I'll transfer the money to you now. He glanced at her. Do you think I'm stupid? Get cash. A moment later, a few underlings brought 20,000 in cash. Taking the money, he prepared to leave. Before leaving, he didn't forget to remind them, remember, messing with Mei Li's barbecue stall is messing with my livelihood. Be careful, or I'll smash your dog head. After he left, an underling spoke up. Big brother, I just checked Mei Li's phone and saw a transfer message. It seems the guy's name is Ethan Yi. Blake by roared in the private room. Ethan Yi, is it? No one has ever dared to rob me. You just wait. You're dead meat. Nancy Wong stood beside him and carefully advised. Brother Kyo, I think this Ethan Yi is a martial artist. We can't afford to provoke him. Blake by immediately slapped Nancy Wong. What's there not to provoke? He just practices martial arts. If I had practiced my iron palm since I was young, I could have beaten the crap out of him just now. At this moment, Blake by suddenly thought of something. He sat back down on the sofa and smiled sinisterly. If a direct confrontation doesn't work, we'll play dirty. At this moment, he didn't notice Nancy Wong, lying on the ground, also revealing a ruthless expression. When he returned to Mei Li's diner, the thugs had already cleaned everything up. He directly took out 100,000 and gave it to Mei Li. Seeing such a thick stack of money, Mei Li naturally didn't dare to accept it. Ethan, where did you get so much money? I just want to reason with Brother Kyo. He agreed to compensate and won't collect protection fees anymore. Vivian was overjoyed. Really? That's great. Take it and renovate the stall. He rubbed his stomach and added, I'm hungry. Is there any food left? Yes. I'll go make it right away. Wait a moment. Mei Li turned into the kitchen, wiping tears from the corners of her eyes with her sleeve. He sighed softly, chose a seat, and sat down. Vivian sat in front of him, her sparkling eyes filled with tears and doubt. Ethan Yi, you didn't beat them up, did you? How could you? There were so many of them. I persuaded them with virtue, reasoned with them. Wow, Ethan Yi, you're so amazing. You can fight, you're eloquent, and you're so skillful. Vivian rested her chin on her hands, her face blushing. I don't know how to thank you anymore. Just don't bother me, he blurted out. This sentence stunned Vivian. She suddenly felt aggrieved and confused. At school, boys talked to her every day. Why was she so disliked by him? He didn't intend to apologize for what he just said because, as an old monster who had lived for 2,000 years, he could read a trace of admiration in Vivian's eyes. If this continued, this little girl would fall in love with him sooner or later. Affection was the biggest hindrance on the path of cultivation. The bud of love should be nipped in the bud early. From the day after the water festival, it was the official start of classes. The second clinical class had a very packed schedule, but Ethan Yi didn't listen to a single lecture. He either slept with his head on the desk or read novels on his phone. His classmates all shook their heads when they saw this. During the break, Fatty Fong came to him and couldn't help asking, Ethan Yi, aren't you afraid of failing all your exams at the end of the semester? Shan Zhang held a book, his face full of frustration. Studying medicine is too hard. We have to take 10 exams at the end of the semester. I already regret it. But he looked very calm. Isn't studying medicine just memorization? A quick review at the end of the semester will be enough. After saying that, he left the classroom. Kevin Lo looked at his retreating back and sneered. 12 books. Let's see how you review at the end of the semester. Wait until you fail, idiot. However, ordinary people could never imagine how terrifying a cultivator's memory was. And in fact, in the cultivation world, he was also a divine doctor with unparalleled medical skills. The little South Heaven realm had a history of tens of thousands of years. Compared to Western medicine, which had a short history of only 200 years, he didn't even deign to look at it. At noon, he went to the cafeteria to eat. He was queuing when he suddenly felt a fierce gaze from behind. He turned his head and saw Sherry Sue. For some reason, she couldn't stand the sight of him and would get angry. Ethan Yi, you bastard. But Kara Dang giggled and greeted him. Hi, Captain Power. He also smiled and nodded at Kara Dang. At this moment, among the crowd queuing in the cafeteria, a female student's terrified scream suddenly rang out. Following the sound, a tall, handsome male student holding a basketball was walking this way. The female students started chattering excitedly. Isn't that Philip Xing from year 3? He's as handsome as the rumors say. Philip Xing walked straight up to Sherry Sue and smiled. Hello, Junior. You're Sherry Sue, right? You're very famous. Sherry Sue, as the young miss of the Sue family, basically didn't even look at the person in front of her. But when she saw Ethan Yi beside her, she suddenly had an idea. She flashed a radiant smile at Philip Xing Sr. I'm Sherry Sue. Hello. What do you want to eat? I'll treat you. How could I trouble you, Senior? Philip Xing scratched his head. It's okay. Seeing them chatting happily, Kara Dang wondered, doesn't Sherry like the domineering CEO, big boss type? Why is she so enthusiastic towards an athlete student? Could it be she wants to provoke Captain Power? When she noticed Sherry Sue occasionally glancing at Ethan Yi, Kara Dang immediately understood and secretly snickered. Sherry Sue thought that Ethan Yi would be jealous seeing her talk to another boy. As a result, After he finished eating, he left without even looking at her. This made her furious. Sherry Sue cursed inwardly. Ethan Yee, I don't believe you really have no feelings for me at all. Unless you're a eunuch. Keep pretending. At this moment, Philip Shing smiled and said, Junior, what do you want to eat? I'll get it for you. Sherry Sue felt disgusted, and her expression immediately turned cold. No need, Senior. I have my own hands. Just then, a group of people aggressively entered the cafeteria. A burly young man grabbed a male student wearing glasses by the collar and threatened, Quick, find Ethan Yee. I have something to ask him. Yes, Brother Jason. The burly young man put his hands on his hips and said with some disdain, Damn it, I was just out for a competition for a few days, and such a big thing happened in the club. Nearby, Sherry Sue was startled. She immediately sent him a message. Ethan Yee, did you offend someone you shouldn't have? They're here to cause trouble for you. Run out the back door quickly. Just as the message was sent, the male student wearing glasses from the second clinical class suddenly spotted him. Brother Jason, that's Ethan Yee. Hearing this, the burly young man immediately led his men towards Ethan Yee. The surrounding students hurriedly made way. No one dared to offend him because he was the president of the Sonda Club, Jason Jeong. Walking up to him, he slammed his hand on the table. You're Ethan Yee? Come with us. I have something to ask you. He hated being disturbed while eating the most, but he didn't get angry immediately. Instead, he looked up, his face emotionless, and asked, What is it? Say it here. A few days ago, Brandon Zhao, my junior, was beaten up by a group of people and hospitalized. His whole body was broken in more than 20 places, and he needed dozens of stitches. Do you know who did it? He was a little confused. How would I know? Hearing this, Jason Jeong knocked over his food tray. You're lying. I've had someone investigate. It was you little brat. You offended some thugs outside of school and deliberately gave them Brandon's name. He crossed his arms and smiled. So what? He caused trouble for me first. So you admit it? He replied calmly, Yes. So what do you want? At this moment, the surroundings were dead silent. Hundreds of students stared wide-eyed. The captain of the basketball team, Philip Shing, lamented, This kid is in big trouble. How dare he do such a thing? He's doomed. Even I don't dare to offend Jason. Kara Dang looked at Sherry Sue worriedly. Sherry, what should we do now? Sherry Sue also had a headache. She quickly took out her phone. I know a few teachers. Let me contact them and see. Jason Jeong originally intended to strike directly, but seeing so many people watching, he temporarily suppressed his anger, glaring coldly at him. Kid, do you dare to come with us to the Sonda Club's activity room? I have something to talk to you about. Hearing this, he stood up and said 3 words, Lead the way. After hearing this, all the Sonda Club members were stunned, not expecting him to agree so decisively. Jason Jeong sneered. All right, consider yourself to have some guts. A moment later, he arrived at the Sonda Club's activity room. As soon as he entered, the sound of the door being locked from behind was heard. At this moment, a member suddenly revealed a fierce expression and aimed to kick at his butt. But unexpectedly, he reached behind him, twisted, and grabbed his ankle. Before he could react, he used him like a club, swinging him repeatedly. Thwack a few times. Including Jason Jeong, 6 Sonda Club members were sent flying by the human club, hitting the wall hard. Damn it, there's this move too? Everyone get him. Jason Jeong cursed, got up from the ground, and launched a frontal kick towards him. He didn't use any fancy moves, directly ignoring his kick, raised his fist, and punched continuously. In less than 2 rounds, Jason Jeong couldn't hold on anymore. His arm was swollen, and his face was covered in bruises. The other Sonda Club members were also knocked down with just 1 punch. Some had broken bones, some had stomach bleeding, and were vomiting on the ground. Jason Jeong was in so much pain he couldn't bear it and hurriedly begged, Don't hit anymore. Don't hit anymore. You say don't hit, so I don't hit? You were very arrogant in the cafeteria just now, weren't you? After saying that, he slapped him again, making him dizzy. Finally, he kicked him flying, causing him to hit the door hard, incidentally breaking the locked door. Jason Jeong rolled out into the hallway. In so much pain, he was dizzy and couldn't breathe. In the hallway of the 2nd floor, a group of people surrounded a young man, flattering him. Senior Duan, this time you won 3rd place in the provincial competition. You'll definitely be directly admitted to the Longhu Martial Arts Hall. Congratulations! The Longhu Martial Arts Hall is one of the 4 largest martial arts halls in the country. After you succeed, don't forget us juniors. The person being flattered was a young man around 24 or 25 years old, wearing a white martial arts uniform, his eyes sharp. I have to go back to the martial arts hall to practice. Lana, you stay. Everyone else, dismiss. A beautiful and elegant girl with a ponytail, also wearing a white martial arts uniform, smiled and nodded. Dylan Doan and Lana, when were students in the same cohort, both loved ancient martial arts and had superior aptitude. By the age of 25, they had passed the Ancient Martial Arts Association's examination and became certified martial artists. This time, they even represented Qingzhou University in the Jiangnan Provincial Martial Arts Competition, winning 3rd and 4th place respectively. The Longhu Martial Arts Hall was the largest and best martial arts hall in the country, but only those who won 3rd place or higher at the provincial level could be directly admitted. Therefore, Lana had lost this opportunity. Her mood was very bad on the way back to school. Just as the senior and junior disciples were preparing to leave, bang. The door of the Sonda Club's activity room was kicked open, only to see Jason Jiang lying flat on the ground like a shrimp. The dozen or so members of the ancient martial arts club all frowned. It's Jason Jiang from the Sonda Club? How'd he get beaten up like this? Then, he leisurely walked out of the room and happened to meet them. He glanced at these students, and his eyes finally rested on Dylan Doan. He felt a little surprised because this kid's physical quality had reached the first level of body tempering. The first level of body tempering was the lowest level in the cultivation world. Frankly, it was far from being considered a cultivator. But on Earth, he was a master who could fight 10 people barehanded without a problem. He simply glanced at him twice and then intended to leave. A short male student in the ancient martial arts club spoke up. Who are you? You're really bold, daring to cause trouble at Chengde, Qingzhou University. He was a little bewildered. I'm from Chengde. The short male student was stunned for a moment, then cursed again. You're talking nonsense. I'm from the Chengde Ancient Martial Arts Club. I've never heard of you being able to beat the president of the Sonda Club. Kid, watch your words. I'm a new student in the second clinical class, Ethan Yi. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Even Dylan Doan and Lana when looked at each other. A first-year medical student could beat the president of the Sonda Club like this? At this moment, a Sonda Club member limped out of the activity room. He cried and complained, Senior brother, you absolutely cannot ignore this matter. We are also considered one family. Dylan Doan frowned. After hearing the Sonda Club member explain the whole story, he also understood everything. All clubs related to martial arts at Qingzhou University took ancient martial arts as their head. How could he ignore such a thing? Soon after, the Sonda Club members were taken to the infirmary, while Dylan Doan walked up to Ethan Yi, appraising him with an admiring gaze. Kid, it seems you have some skills. Where did you learn martial arts? His voice was a little impatient. I learned it at Jiaodong University. Jiaodong University? Which Jiaodong University? Qingzhou or Benhai? Are you a transfer student? Ethan Yi made up a story. My maternal grandfather taught me. Dylan Doan was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Aha, Junior, you're really humorous. How about this? Join our ancient martial arts club. Our country values martial arts, and martial artists are the rarest talents in society today. You must be a good seed. After hearing this, he waved his hand, turned, and walked away. Goodbye. Lana 1, angry, took 2 steps in 3 and blocked his way. You're a new student. Why are you so arrogant? Our Qingzhou University Ancient Martial Arts Club isn't something anyone can just join. Do you know how high the average salary of a martial artist is? You could be a doctor your whole life and not earn as much as a martial artist does in a month. After hearing this, he rolled his eyes. He originally came here just to experience university life for fun. Doctor, martial artist, he didn't want to be either. Sorry, I'm really not that interested. Make way. He reached out to push Lana 1 away, intending to leave leisurely, when suddenly a gust of wind came from behind him. The members of the Ancient Martial Arts Club all showed excited expressions. Senior brother is making a move. Lana 1 was scared and originally wanted to stop Dylan Doan, but he had already reached the first level of body tempering, and his speed was truly too fast. At this moment, Ethan Yi leaned to the side and easily dodged Dylan Doan's kick. Dylan Doan looked at him with an admiring gaze. Not bad. My speed is very fast. Among my peers, few can dodge my attack. He pointed forward and said disdainfully, if you make another move, I'll send you to the hospital. Believe it or not, as soon as these words were spoken, the members of the Ancient Martial Arts Club all burst into laughter. What an arrogant new student. Just learned a few cat-scratching moves, and he already doesn't respect senior brother. Lana 1 looked at him with disdain. She felt that this new student had some skills, but his EQ was too low. Dylan Doan chuckled. Junior Ethan Yi, you single-handedly took care of the entire Sonda Club. I am a senior brother of the martial arts clubs at Qingzhou University. Of course, I can't let you go so easily. He was a little confused. Then what do you want? Let's have a match. Dylan Doan thought to himself. It's time to let this kid know the gap between a martial arts enthusiast and a certified martial artist. He smiled and raised his fist. All right, no, not here. It's too cramped here. Let's go to the martial arts hall. It's more spacious and comfortable there. Hearing this, he showed an annoyed expression. Just a fight. Why is it so troublesome? He followed Dylan Doan and the others to the martial arts hall on the 5th floor and found many people practicing there. Seeing senior brother return, they all came to greet him. Congratulations, senior brother, for being specially admitted to the Longhu Martial Arts Hall. Seeing them chatting happily, he asked with an emotionless face, I say, are we going to fight or not? More than 10 members of the Ancient Martial Arts Club stared blankly at this foolish-looking, strange young man. When they heard that Dylan Doan wanted to fight him, a first-year student, they all burst into laughter. Him fighting senior brother? Are you kidding? With that physique, I only need to use one move, Black Tiger Steel's heart, and he'll be down. At this moment, on the 2nd floor spectator stand of the martial arts hall, an old man leaning on a cane sat quietly observing the arena below. He shook his head and sighed. This brat Duan is regressing the more he practices. He's actually competing with a first-year student. Isn't he afraid of ruining the reputation of the Duan family's 8 brocades? In the arena, Dylan Doan didn't want to bully him and insisted on giving him a 3-move handicap. He was really a bit lazy and spoke up. Why don't you make the first move? Otherwise, if you lose later, I guess you'll be unconvinced 8 times out of 10. Hearing this, the members of the Ancient Martial Arts Club all burst into laughter. I haven't met someone as arrogant as you in years. Alright then, fists and kicks have. No eyes, be careful. Dylan Doan suddenly exerted strength in his back, and his joints made cracking sounds like popping corn. Rooster shakes feathers, tendons, and bones resound. Lana One, below the stage, smiled. It seems Senior Brother is really angry this time. This kid is in big trouble. Daring to challenge Senior Brother, he's truly seeking death. At this moment, Dylan Doan's eyes became fierce. He bent his knees, and his body shot out like an arrow leaving a bow. At this speed, ordinary people basically couldn't react in time. But in his eyes, his movements were as slow as a snail crawling. He couldn't help but sigh. Making such a show, I thought you were in the Golden Core stage. As he spoke, he threw out a fist. Dealing with a first-level body tempering person, he was really too lazy to use martial arts. Thwack! He accurately punched Dylan Doan in the face, sending him flying backward, 2 streams of nosebleeds spraying into the air. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened. Even the old man leaning on the cane on the spectator stand suddenly stood up. Below the stage, it was dead silent. Senior Brother of the Ancient Martial Arts Club, Dylan Doan, known as the man who could fight the most at Qingzhou University, was defeated by a first-year student with just 1 punch. So boring. He walked down the stage dejectedly and went straight towards the door of the martial arts hall. Lana One, panicked, called out after him, "Stop!" He glanced at her. "What? You want to try a few moves too? Who on earth are you? Are you really a new student at our school?" "Second clinical class. If you don't believe me, go check for yourself." After saying that, he was about to leave when, in the instant he turned around, another gust of wind attacked him. It was Dylan Doan. He couldn't accept being defeated in front of everyone, gritted his teeth, endured the pain, and attacked him again. He was a little annoyed. "Addicted to sneak attacks, are you?" He immediately spun around, grabbed Dylan Doan's flying ankle, twisted it, and with a crisp crack, Dylan Doan's tragic scream immediately echoed in the martial arts hall. My leg!" A group of Ancient Martial Arts Club members immediately ran over, looking at Dylan Doan in horror. "Call an ambulance. What are you standing there for? Quickly call an ambulance. My leg can't be broken. That surname G, you just wait. This isn't over. You're dead meat." He didn't even look at him, directly put his hands in his pockets, and left the martial arts hall. He thought to himself, "This way, probably no one at Qingzhou University will dare to cause trouble for me anymore." At this moment, Senior Lana One called him again. He turned back impatiently and found an old man in a suit beside her. The old man was about 70 years old, leaning on a cane, with white hair, looking at him with a complicated expression. Some students passing by saw him and greeted him, "Hello, Principal One." He heard how they addressed him and glared at Lana One in annoyance. "Reporting so quickly? Very good." Lana One was about to explain when the old man with the cane smiled and said, "I didn't expect our Qingzhou University's new batch of students to have a master of perfected external energy. I wonder who Little Friend's master is." He replied calmly, "I'm just an ordinary student." The old man with the cane frowned. "An ordinary student who can defeat Little Duan? Little friend, do you know that Little Duan just won 3rd place in the provincial youth martial art competition in Jiangnan province? The school has already decided to recommend him to the Longhu Martial Arts Hall." "No, I don't know anything about some martial arts competition, nor do I know anything about some Longhu Martial Arts Hall. I only know he's very weak." Lana One, hearing Ethan Yi insult her senior brother like this, was so angry she wanted to curse. But thinking about how her senior brother had just been defeated and even failed to win with a sneak attack, she couldn't say anything. The old man with the cane had a solemn expression. "Little friend, come to my office for a chat. You broke Little Duan's leg in school, just now. This matter is much more serious than you imagine. If I don't mediate, your martial arts path might very well end here." He had no choice. If he was expelled from university, he really didn't know how to explain it to his mother. So he had to follow this principle. On the way, he learned that this old man with the cane was named Victor Wen, Lana Wen's grandfather, and also the former principal of Qingzhou University, with a very high reputation in the school. Arriving at Victor Wen's office, Victor Wen asked Lana Wen to make him a cup of tea, then began to inquire about his background. "Little friend, with your skills, you couldn't have achieved this without the guidance of a HUAG master. I wonder who your master is. You wouldn't know him even if I told you." Lana Wen at the side looked annoyed. "You're really bold. My grandfather is a standing committee member of the Ancient Martial Arts Association's Qingzhou branch. In the entire Qingzhou, even the entire Jiangnan region, there isn't a HUAG master he doesn't know." Victor Wen smiled without saying anything. Obviously, this was true. Seeing this, he said decisively, "My master's Taoist name is Aurora." Hearing this, Lana Wen was stunned. "Aurora? A woman?" Victor Wen frowned. "This is a Taoist name. Is your master a Taoist priest?" Taoist priests were different from martial artists. The former cultivated the soul and Taoist techniques, while the latter tempered the body and practiced martial arts. But Victor Wen searched through the list of masters in the south and didn't know of any female Taoist priest named Aurora. Of course, he didn't know, because Master Aurora was the former Grand Elder of the pure, young Infinite Palace in the Little South Heaven Realm, a peak nascent soul stage great cultivator. 1,500 years ago, due to an accident, Ethan Yi had become Master Aurora's disciple, her least talented disciple. But through unremitting efforts, he gradually grew and became the most outstanding disciple of the pure, young Infinite Palace. But then, Aurora failed to break through to the deity transformation stage, and her soul scattered. From then on, the pure young Infinite Palace lost a Grand Elder, and he also lost his master. In the days that followed, every time Ethan Yi recalled the scene by the lake that day, he deeply regretted not saving his master. He broke free from his reminiscence and said, "My master is a reclusive expert. It's normal that you haven't heard of her." Victor nodded. "So that's how it is. Let's get back to the main topic. I just examined little Duan's injuries. They're not light. I'm afraid it will take half a year to recover. I'm afraid the Duan family will definitely not let you off easily." He asked calmly, "Is the Duan family very powerful?" Lana frowned. "You don't even know the Duan family? Are you not from Qingzhou?" "I am, but my parents are ordinary people." "No wonder. The Duan family is a big family in Qingzhou. Their power, no less than our own family. They employ many martial artists. You're in big trouble. The only way for you to resolve this now is to quickly find a backer." He smiled faintly. "Find who is a backer? Your own family." Lana, seeing him like this, became angry. "Do you think our own family wants to take you in? The Duan family has a very good relationship with our ancient martial arts association. We don't want to cause more trouble. Isn't it just a perfected external energy master? What's so great about that?" Victor waved his hand. All right, Lana, stop talking. Little friend, you're still young, yet you've already cultivated to perfected external energy. You can register for the Longhu Martial Arts Hall's examination. Once you pass the exam, I'll help you put in a few good words. If you apologize yourself, perhaps the Duan family will spare you." After hearing this, he shook his head. "Forget it, it's too troublesome. Hey, grandfather is saving your life. What's with your attitude?" He put down the teacup and stood up leisurely. "Thank you for your kind intentions, old one, but I still don't need it." As soon as he finished speaking, urgent knocking sounded at the door. Opening the door, a teacher wearing glasses, sweating profusely, reported, "Principal 1, it's not good. People from the Duan family are here. They're here for this student. The guards are about to be unable to hold them back." "Little friend, wait." Victor wanted to call Ethan Yi back, but unexpectedly, he paid no attention and directly walked out of the office door. In the hallway, he was quickly blocked by a burly man. This man was over 40 years old, with a bronze complexion and a sturdy build. Behind him, guards lay scattered on the ground, each clutching their stomachs, groaning, unable to get up. He spoke up and asked him, "This student, do you know anyone named Ethan Yi?" "I am Ethan Yi. What do you want with me?" "The young master of my family was injured by you." He nodded. "If your young master's surname is Duan, then yes, it was me. No mistake. Very good, kid. Quite straightforward." At this moment, the two Wins, Lana and her grandfather, came out of the office. Victor stood beside Ethan Yi, his voice carrying a trace of severity. "Ironfoot Chi, you dare to cause trouble on the grounds of Qingzhou University? Aren't you afraid the Martial Arts Association will arrest you?" Ironfoot Chi chuckled and cupped his hands. "Old Master 1, long time no see. Still in good health, I see. But this matter has nothing to do with you. I am under orders from the family head to take this kid back." Victor slammed his cane on the ground. "At Qingzhou University, it has something to do with me." As soon as he finished speaking, Ethan Yi directly ruined his plan. "Old one, this matter really has nothing to do with you. Don't interfere." Victor, standing beside him, was completely speechless. Is this kid's brain-addled? Although Ironfoot Chi is not considered a top master in the martial arts world, he has at least practiced martial arts for decades. Ethan Yi is still young. What combat experience does he have? Ironfoot Chi laughed loudly. "Ha! Old one, did you hear that? This kid doesn't need your help at all. To be honest, young people nowadays..." He directly interrupted him. "If you want to fight, then hurry up and make a move. Less nonsense, okay?" Ironfoot Chi sneered. "Are all young people nowadays so arrogant? As a senior, it seems I have to teach you a lesson." After saying that, he lifted his right leg, the instep curved, his 5 toes curled up like a poisonous snake flicking its tongue. But his stance was extremely solid. One look, and you could tell he was a master of kicking techniques. Swoosh! Suddenly, a black shadow flashed. Ironfoot Chi kicked out like a bullet, leaving a gun barrel straight at Ethan Yi's chest. He knew that his young master, who practiced the 8 brocades, had reached the minor completion of external energy. The strength of the young man in front of him was also not ordinary. Therefore, he directly used a killing move, wanting to defeat the enemy in one blow. If this kick hit an ordinary person, they would be severely injured if not killed. But half a second later, he missed, because he suddenly disappeared. Before he could react, a heart-piercing pain came from his left leg, supporting him on the ground. Ironfoot Chi immediately screamed tragically, only to see that his left leg was completely mangled, his entire shoe soaked in fresh blood. Extremely horrifying. He pointed at him mockingly. "Three-legged cat kung fu, and you dare to show off in front of an expert?" As if afraid Ironfoot Chi was too noisy, he added another kick, directly knocking him unconscious. The two Wins, grandfather and granddaughter, looked at him in astonishment, speechless. But he acted as if nothing had happened. Lano and rubbed her eyes. WH, what's going on? Grandfather, am I dreaming? Victor Win looked at him with a shocked expression. Such speed. To reach this level at such a young age, I don't know which reclusive expert could have taught such a formidable disciple. Actually, compared to Ethan's strength, Victor Win was even more amazed by his state of mind. Crippling a perfected external energy martial artist was like stepping on an ant, his face not red, his heart not beating fast. This calm state of mind was truly rare. Due to the development of the internet, the news that Ironfoot Chi was crippled by a university student quickly spread in the Jiang and martial arts world, becoming a topic of discussion for everyone. At a private estate in Qingzhou, a bald middle-aged man was looking at the news on his phone, his expression gradually becoming serious. He was the head of the Duan family, Dylan Doan's father. A moment later, the butler entered from outside and reported, "Family head, Ironfoot Chi's injuries are even more severe than the young master's. His left kneecap was crushed, and his nerves were damaged. He will have to walk with a cane for the rest of his life." Hearing this, Vincent Doan frowned. This kid is really ruthless. Has it been thoroughly investigated? What is Ethan's background? He is from Danyang County, studying clinical medicine at Qingzhou University. Your subordinate also found out that he is currently staying at Jason Su's house. Vincent Doan was a little surprised after hearing this. He's from a Su family? This is currently unclear. Continue investigating. Where did he learn martial arts? What is his relationship with the Su family? All of this must be investigated for me. Also, quickly find David Du for me. Hearing the name David Du, the butler was clearly startled because this person was the strongest guest master employed by the Duan family. A ruthless figure. Family head, perhaps we should leave this matter to the Martial Arts Association to handle. Intentional injury can be punished with 10 years in prison. By the time he gets out of prison, that kid will also be crippled. Vincent Doan's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. First, break both his legs, then hand him over to the Martial Arts Association. It's not too late. Daring to beat my son to this state, just going to prison is not enough. Over there, he basically didn't care about the Duan family's affairs. A small local family might not even have a foundation establishment stage cultivator. He skipped the afternoon classes and leisurely left the school. He went to a nearby market, bought a few pounds of beef and chicken, intending to take them to Mei Li's stall for her cook. He had just taken out his phone to pay when he found that Sherry Su had called him more than 10 times. Call back. On the other end of the line, Sherry Su's anxious voice came. Through. Ethan Yi, you finally answered. Where are you? Are you okay? He was a little confused. Why was this girl suddenly so concerned about him? But he still answered, what could happen to me? Weren't you taken away by the Sonda Club people? Oh, that. After that, I ran into the principal, so they let me go. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. I'm shopping. Hang up then. Who cares about calling you? Sherry Su angrily hung up first. Kara Dang asked with concern. Sherry, how is Captain Power? He's not hospitalized, is he? Lucky for him. He ran into the principal. That's good. By the way, didn't Andy Kelly ask you to message Captain Power to have dinner at the Jizhou Hotel tonight? Sherry Su was stunned, but thinking of his annoying attitude, she didn't want to send the message anymore. In the end, it was Kara Dang who called him. On the rooftop of the Diamond Club on Shui West Street, Blake Bai looked at the bag of mushrooms on the bar counter and slapped Kyle Yang. I told you to find poison, and you brought this back? Kyle Yang clutched his red face, feeling wronged. Brother Kyo, you're wronging me. Don't underestimate these mushrooms. Their name is Ghost Hand Green. They originate from Lingnan and are extremely poisonous. Let alone a student, even a cow would collapse after eating them. Blake Bai's eyes lit up. Are they really that potent? Absolutely. This type of mushroom has killed many people and has long been banned from sale. But I have connections and managed to get some. Doesn't Ethan often go to that barbecue stall to eat? We'll let him taste this. Then, a few underlings brought in a stray dog from outside. Kyle Yang put on gloves, crushed the ghost hand green mushrooms, mixed them into dog food, and fed it to the stray dog. A moment later, the stray dog started foaming at the mouth and collapsed to the ground. At this moment, Blake Bai sneered. Ethan, you just wait. In your next life, remember to be careful. Not everyone is someone you can provoke. At 7 p.m., he took a taxi to the Jizhou Hotel. The waiter led him to a luxurious VIP room on the 6th floor. Sherry Su's entire family, including Butler fam, was already present. Auntie Kelly had specially reserved a seat for him next to Sherry Su. Jason Su smiled at him. Ethan, I heard about what you did at school today. Auntie Kelly asked curiously, what happened? This kid got into a fight with several seniors on the first day of school. I heard it was even a Sonda Club. Several people had to be hospitalized. He felt he had worried unnecessarily. It seemed the matter with Dylan Doan and Ironfoot Chi had been suppressed by that old man Victor Win. Sherry Su and Kara Dang looked at each other in surprise. Didn't you say you met the principal and they let you go? He smiled faintly. Obviously, I was lying to you. Hearing this, Sherry Su immediately became angry. You bastard. But Kara Dang was amused by his attitude. Auntie Kelly sternly criticized. Ethan, why did you get into a fight? You worked so hard to get into Qingzhou University. If you get expelled, your mother will be very sad. Auntie Kelly, they started trouble with me first. Even so, you shouldn't fight. Jason Su smiled and waved his hand. Ah, it's okay. Our country is now encouraging martial arts. It's normal for young people to fight. I think Ethan has such good martial arts skills. Wouldn't it be great if he became Sherry's bodyguard? He secretly shook his head. So Jason Su still hadn't given up on this idea. Auntie Kelly frowned. This doesn't seem right. A university student's top priority is studying. We also have to think about our daughter. Sherry is so beautiful. Since she was young, there's been no shortage of boys bothering her. Besides, I'll pay a salary of $20,000 a month, which is higher than 90% of office workers in Qingzhou. After he graduates, he can even work directly at the Su Group. Importantly, Ethan is someone we know well, so we can be more at ease. What do you think, wife? Auntie Kelly, after hearing what Jason Su said, felt it made sense. But she was afraid of hurting Ethan Ye's pride, so she tentatively asked, Ethan, what do you think? At this moment, Sherry Su pouted. Mom, Dad, I don't need a bodyguard. Jason Su glared at her. Be quiet. It's not your turn to speak. He pretended to think for a long time and finally shook his head. Sorry, Uncle Su. I'm not interested in being your daughter's bodyguard. Ethan, can you tell me why? If it's a salary issue, we can discuss it again. Ethan Ye answered honestly. It's not about the money. Mainly, Sherry and I don't get along. Hearing this, Sherry Su immediately interjected to correct. It's me who doesn't get along with you. He added another sentence. If it were Kara Dang, I would be your bodyguard for free, no salary needed. Of course, this was just a joke. Even if the leader of Earth came, they wouldn't be qualified to have him as a bodyguard. Sherry Su, furious, pointed at Ethan Ye. You're even trying to drive a wedge between our friendship. You're shameless. Jason Su waved his hand. Forget it. Let's drop this matter. Soon, the food was served. 10 dishes and a bowl of soup, each dish full of color, aroma, and flavor. But Sherry Su was so angry, she couldn't swallow a single bite, while Ethan Ye ate heartily. At this moment, the waiter pushed a trolley over, bringing another dish. Butler Pham glanced at it, and saw it was a very fragrant mushroom soup. He was a little puzzled. It seems we didn't order this. The female waiter smiled. Sir, this is a complimentary gift from our hotel. Only bills that reach a certain amount receive it. Butler Pham nodded. Then bring it over there. Because this bowl of soup was near Ethan Ye, he immediately scooped a bowl. But as soon as he took a sip, he felt something was wrong. Seeing Sherry Su also scooping a bowl, he hurriedly snatched it away, his face serious. Wait! Sherry Su looked at Ethan Ye in confusion. Why did you snatch my soup? There's still plenty. Scoop it yourself. Ethan Ye replied seriously. This soup is poisonous. This is ghost hand green mushroom, extremely poisonous. Ordinary people only need to eat one bite to lose their lives. Just one of these mushrooms is enough to poison an entire elephant. Yet he, a nascent soul stage old monster, ate it with relish. It was just that he noticed Sherry Su also scooping a bowl, so he immediately snatched it back and told her the soup was poisonous. Sherry Su thought he was teasing her and almost fainted from anger. Auntie Kelly looked at him with a confused expression. Ethan, what on earth is going on? He affirmed. Auntie Kelly, Uncle Su, this bowl of soup is really poisonous. Trust me. Auntie Kelly and Jason Su looked at each other, a little embarrassed and incredulous. At this moment, the female waiter stepped forward to reassure them. Dear guests, please don't worry. The ingredient for this mushroom soup is ghost hand green mushroom from Lingnan. It indeed has a certain toxicity, but after professional processing by our chef, the toxins have been completely removed. You can enjoy it with peace of mind. What a country bumpkin hasn't seen anything. Pufferfish is also poisonous. Don't people still eat it? Sherry Su muttered and then scooped another bowl. But unexpectedly, this bowl of soup was snatched away by Ethan Ye again. What do you want to do? Get back to me. He ignored Sherry Su and directly handed the bowl of soup to the female waiter. He said it's not poisonous. Then you drink this bowl. Seeing this, the female waiter showed an awkward expression. Sorry, guest. Our hotel has regulations. I don't think it's regulations, but that you don't dare, right? At this moment, Jason Su was a little annoyed. Come on, Ethan. This is a 5-star hotel. The chef can't make such a basic mistake. Sit down and eat properly. Don't cause trouble anymore. Kara Dang also asked curiously, Captain Power, you said this soup is poisonous, but you also drank a bowl just now, and you seem fine. He was momentarily speechless. As someone who had studied medicine for 400 years in the Little South Heaven realm, he could naturally taste the toxins in the soup. The reason he was fine was, first, nascent soul stage cultivators had strong physical bodies, and second, he had once eaten the inner core of a black scale serpent emperor, thus gaining a body immune to all poisons. But if he explained it like that, he would definitely be considered crazy. Seeing him speechless, Sherry Su sneered. I think he's just a gorilla invited here for entertainment. He racked his brains, then looked at Jason Su, observed him for a moment, and said, Uncle Su, have you had nosebleeds in the last 3 days? Jason Su was stunned. How did you know? The morning 2 days ago, when he woke up and washed his face, he indeed had a nosebleed. But he didn't tell anyone about this small matter. How did Ethan Ye know? Could he tell fortunes? Ethan Ye's eyes sharpened. Because you're a bit weak. If I'm not mistaken, You've been taking some kind of tonic recently, right? Moreover, it's a very rare kind. But you've overdone the nourishment, leading to excessive internal fire. Besides nosebleeds, you also have swollen gums, insomnia, many dreams, dry mouth, and a bitter taste. Am I right? Jason Su and Auntie Kelly both showed expressions of astonishment, because all the symptoms he mentioned were correct. Auntie Kelly asked in disbelief, Ethan, how do you know these things? Ethan, you look back at the bowl of mushroom soup. I've studied traditional Chinese medicine. Therefore, I can be 100% sure that this bowl of soup is poisonous. Moreover, it's extremely poisonous. At this moment, the female waiter's eyes flickered. Sherry Sue's jaw dropped. Mom, Dad, what he said, could it be true? Jason, Sue, seeing Ethan Ye's affirmation, decided to send Butler Fam to investigate clearly, find a laboratory to test the ingredients in this bowl of soup. Butler Fam immediately accepted the order and left the hotel with a bowl of soup. Sherry Sue crossed her arms, still puzzled. If you say the soup is poisonous, then why are you okay? You just drank 3 big mouthfuls. Ethan Yee smiled faintly. I didn't expect Miss Sue to care about me so much. You even know how many mouthfuls of soup I drank. Sherry Sue blushed and turned her face away, saying angrily, Who cares about you? Don't be so self-absorbed. All right, let's get to the point. The reason I wasn't poisoned is because... Ethan Yee was thinking of what excuse to find when the female waiter suddenly spoke up. Her voice no longer had the timidness of before, but carried a hint of coldness. Young man, your medical skills are quite impressive. You were actually able to neutralize the poison of the ghost hand green mushroom. Ethan Yee looked at her and smiled. You're finally not pretending anymore. The master has left, so of course, there's no need to pretend anymore. As the female waiter spoke, she reached out from under the trolley and took out a pistol with a silencer. She directly loaded it and aimed it at Jason Su. Seeing this, Jason Su remained calm. He put his hands on the table, his face grim. So, it was a plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Of course. Iron Fist 100 victories, Butler Fam, and Internal Energy Master. We can't win in a direct confrontation, so we can only use some tricks. Don't move. Everyone, put your phones on the table. The 4 immediately complied. Only Ethan Yee stood still, unmoving. The female waiter pointed the gun at him. Kid, didn't you hear what I said? Take out your phone. At this moment, Jason Su suddenly jumped up and rushed towards the female waiter, shouting, Sherry, you too, run. However, he was unsuccessful because this woman was also an external energy martial artist. She kicked him 4 or 5 meters away. The female waiter sneered, You don't know how to live. Then, she walked up to Ethan Yee with the gun and said sternly, Take out your phone, quickly. He smiled calmly. As an assassin, you're too incompetent. What did you say? You're about to die, and you're still talking nonsense. You talk too much nonsense. You're definitely not a professional assassin. The female waiter holding the gun sneered. What's it to you? As long as I complete the mission, that's enough. What's wrong with a little entertainment? Sorry, I'm afraid you won't be able to complete the mission this time. After he finished speaking, he reached out and grabbed the pistol. You're looking for death. Seeing Ethan Yee dared to snatch the gun, the female assassin's eyes flashed, and she pulled the trigger without hesitation. Sherry Sue and Kara Dang both screamed in terror. But in the next second, the bloody scene they imagined didn't happen at all. Only to see Ethan Ye's hand wrapped around the barrel of the gun, his entire hand still intact, only a few wisps of gunpowder smoke rising from his fingers. The female assassin's eyes almost popped out. How was that possible? Even Jason Su was stunned. How could a human hand block a bullet? The female assassin didn't hesitate and pulled the trigger 3 more times consecutively. This time, she was sure the bullets had been fired, but she didn't understand why Ethan Ye's hand was not only fine, but his expression was also calm. The female assassin wanted to pull the gun back, but the person in front of her was too strong. She couldn't do it at all. I don't believe it. When she pulled the trigger again, the pistol suddenly exploded, mangling her hand. She fell to the ground, rolling in pain. Kara Dang's mind went blank. Captain Power. What's going on? He stepped forward, covered Kara Dang's eyes, and said, Don't look. Kara Dang trembled slightly, a warm feeling rising in her heart. At this moment, Auntie Kelly finally came to her senses. She hurriedly ran over to check Ethan Ye's injuries, but she found that his hand was not only not bleeding, but also not even scratched. The danger was averted. Jason Su immediately picked up a chair and knocked the female assassin unconscious, then also looked at him in amazement. Ethan, your hand. Uncle Sue, Auntie Kelly, luckily her gun jammed. I'm fine. After hearing this, Auntie Kelly burst into tears and hugged him tightly. You little rascal. If anything happened to you, how would I explain it to your mother? He gave a wry smile. It was an emergency. I didn't have time to think much. A moment later, Butler Fam ran in, panting, his face full of apology. Sorry, Chairman. It was my negligence. Jason Su sat back in his chair and waved his hand. It's not your fault. I fell for their trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. By the way, old Fam, what about that bowl of mushroom soup? Butler Fam glanced at Ethan Yee, then said, It's indeed poisonous. According to the lab technician, the soup contained ghost hand green from Lingnan, which is highly toxic. The whole family looked at him in astonishment, especially Sherry Sue. Thinking about what she had just said, Her face burned red. Jason Su looked apologetic. Ethan, it turns out what you said was all true. Sorry, Uncle Su misunderstood you. Kara Dang, on the other hand, admired him even more. Oh my god, Captain Power, you're so amazing. He smiled faintly. It was just a coincidence. At this moment, Andy Kelly walked over, took Ethan Ye's hand, and intended to go out. No, such poisonous mushrooms. Ethan, Annie has to take you to the hospital for a checkup. He found it troublesome, but couldn't bear to refuse her kind intentions, so he had to follow. The female assassin was taken away by the police who arrived later. The hotel was in chaos, and the manager was reprimanded that very night, even losing his job. At Peony Garden Villa, Jason Su and Butler Pham sat together, discussing Ethan Ye. When it came to him blocking the gun with his bare hand, Butler Pham decisively shook his head. At such close range, to catch a bullet with a bare hand without any injury, even a Hua Jin Grandmaster couldn't do it. Unless he's a legendary martial Dao Grandmaster who can use true Qi for protection. Jason Su said in surprise, so it really was a problem with the gun? Butler Pham pondered. He knew this explanation was very far-fetched. How could an assassin's gun easily jam and then explode? But Ethan Ye was so young, he couldn't possibly be a martial Dao Grandmaster. Jason Su's face was gloomy. Old Pham, contact the police first thing tomorrow morning. I want to know who exactly wants to kill me. Yes, Chairman. Over there, when Ethan Ye returned home from the hospital, it was almost 11 p.m. In the Audi A8 by the roadside, Andy Kelly handed him a bank card. She said, a little embarrassed, Ethan, thank you for saving our whole family tonight. Don't blame Andy Kelly for being practical. There are 300,000 in this card. The password is your birthday. Take it and buy something you like. If you're short of money in the future, just tell Andy Kelly. He didn't say a word, directly took the card, and put it in his pocket. Thank you, Auntie Kelly. Auntie Kelly smiled kindly, thinking to herself, this kid isn't pretentious at all, very honest. He really suits my taste. Then, Auntie Kelly drove away. He didn't go straight back to Peony Garden Villa, but intended to go to Mei Lee's diner. The commotion tonight had left him not feeling full. Arriving at Mei Lee's, he took out the ingredients he had sent earlier and started preparing a late-night meal. A moment later, she finished making a few dishes. But among the food on the table, he saw a very familiar ingredient, ghost hand green mushrooms. Mei Lee, wearing an apron, stood beside him. Seeing Ethan Ye looking surprised, she asked, What's wrong, Ethan? Aren't these dishes to your taste? Am I? I've never seen this dish before. He picked up a piece of ghost hand green mushroom with his chopsticks, put it in his mouth, and chewed. Oh dear, it's still ghost hand green mushrooms. Not fully cooked, the toxicity is even stronger. Mei Lee, hearing him call her Aunt Mai, smiled brightly. These are fresh mushrooms I got from acquaintance from Lingnan. Over 100 yuan a pound, very expensive. Is that so? Aunt Mai, you spent too much. He continued to eat the stir-fried mushrooms. To be honest, these ghost hand green mushrooms, although poisonous, are extremely delicious. However, ordinary people can't taste this deliciousness. Just one bite, and they'll lose their lives. What's the expense? This is all your money. Mei Li smiled very genuinely. She was referring to the 100,000 yuan he had given her a few days ago. While eating, he said, These mushrooms are delicious, Aunt Mai. Where did you buy them? Aunt Mai, take me with you next time. I want to buy some. For my friend. The place I bought them from this morning, the Guyan Wholesale Market. He nodded, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. At this moment, there were a dozen or so scattered customers in the stall. Two thugs, sitting in a corner, both looked surprised. I say, this kid has been eating for a while. Why isn't anything happening? Could there be some mistake? While eating, he chatted with Mei Li. From her, he learned that there were still a few very large ghost hand green mushrooms in the back kitchen. So he suggested he wanted to take a look. Then, he left his seat and went into the back kitchen. At this moment, the two thugs walked over to Ethan Ye's table to check the situation. One of them picked up his chopsticks and poked at the plate of stir-fried mushrooms, which was still more than half full. Could it be that old woman Mei Li overcooked the mushrooms? I heard that poisonous mushrooms lose their toxicity if cooked thoroughly. You're right, that's possible. The other thug happened not to have eaten dinner yet. He picked up his chopsticks, took a piece of mushroom, put it in his mouth, and chewed. After a few bites, he praised, Wow, it's delicious. Really fresh and tasty. Damn it, are you crazy? You dare to eat this? What's there to be afraid of? That kid has been eating for a while, and nothing happened. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt the world spinning. In a daze, he saw many little people holding hands and dancing around him. Then, thud, he fell to the ground, motionless. In the kitchen, Ethan Ye found the fresh ghost hand green mushrooms and was surprised to discover a trace of spiritual energy in them. Although the content was very small, it was enough to make him happy. He had just put 3 ghost hand green mushrooms into a plastic bag when he heard a commotion outside. He ran out with Mei Li to see what was happening. He found a crew-cut thug lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth, his whole body convulsing, his skin slightly blue. Another thug with an earring was squatting beside him, looking extremely worried. Mei Li, terrified, hurriedly called for an ambulance. At this moment, the thug with the earring pointed at Mei Li and cursed, It was you who poisoned this stir-fried mushroom dish. These aren't ordinary mushrooms. They're poisonous mushrooms from Lingnan. The stall suddenly became chaotic. More than 10 pairs of frightened eyes looked towards Mei Li. Mei Li, flustered, pointed at Ethan Yi and said, "Impossible. He ate half a plate just now and was fine. How could it be poisonous?" Seeing this, Ethan Yi sneered, picked up the plate, and poured all the remaining stir-fried mushrooms into his mouth, gobbling them down. "Everyone look here. If this is really poisonous mushroom, can I still stand here talking?" After waiting for a long time and seeing no reaction from him, all the customers present were finally relieved. The thug with the earring was speechless, his face flushed red. Ethan Yi narrowed his eyes and suddenly shouted, "You too! Ever since I entered the stall, you've been staring at me and deliberately came to eat my food. What do you want? Were you sent by Blake by?" No, not Kyo-CA. I don't know which Kyo-CA you're talking about." After hearing this, he understood clearly. As expected, it was that reckless Blake by causing trouble again. Originally, he had planned to go to the wholesale market tomorrow morning to find a vegetable seller and investigate the origin of the ghost hand green mushrooms. It seemed now there was no need. The thug with the earring, Thud, knelt before Ethan Yi, hugged his accomplice lying on the ground, and cried bitterly, "Louis, my friend, you died so miserably." He kicked him away with one foot. "Get lost. He's not dead yet." Then he pressed his hand on the thug's chest, his index finger channeling chi, and transferred a stream of true chi into him. A moment later, the thug began to vomit violently, throwing up all the poisonous mushrooms he had eaten. The symptoms of poisoning immediately subsided a lot. At this time, the doctor and nurse from the ambulance had also arrived. After an examination, the doctor gave an initial diagnosis. Others ate it and were fine. This guy vomited, felt dizzy, and was mentally agitated after eating it. It's very likely due to an allergy. Hearing this, Mei Li breathed a sigh of relief. If the diner was rumored to have food poisoning, she wouldn't be able to do business anymore. When she came to her senses, she found Ethan Yi had disappeared at some point. In a small alley in the Shueiyue food street, the thug with the earring was beaten by him until his face was swollen. "Don't hit anymore, big brother. I'll talk. It was Kyo-CA. Kyo-CA sent me." The ghost hand green mushrooms were also arranged by him for the vegetable seller to sell to Mei Li. After hearing this, a murderous glint flashed in Ethan Yi's eyes. His principle was once, twice, but not a third time. Blake Bai had touched his limit. Past 1 a.m., at Diamond, the largest nightclub in the West City district, Blake Bai and his underlings were partying in a VIP room. The blonde thug, Kalyong, also laughed and said, "Kyo-sen." Louis called and said he saw Ethan Yi eat the ghost hand green mushrooms with his own eyes. He's probably met King Yama by now. Blake Bai sat majestically on the sofa, puffing out smoke, and sneered, "A little brat who hasn't even grown all his feathers dares to fight me." His mistress, Nancy Wong, snuggled in his arms and said coquettishly, "Kyo-sen, Mei Li is in prison. What are you going to do with that diner? Find a new tenant. Shueiyue Street is so busy, there's no worry about not finding someone to rent it." After Blake Bai finished speaking, he directly flicked his cigarette ash onto Nancy Wong's thigh. "All right, I heard Mei Li has a daughter. What's her name?" "Vivian. I've seen her picture. She looks quite pretty. Which one of you go catch her for me?" Kalyong immediately put down the half-finished glass of wine and said excitedly, "Kyo-sen, let me go. I'm good at this." Mei Li's husband, Harrison, too, still owes our company tens of thousands. That gambling addict, let alone selling his daughter, he wouldn't even bat an eye selling his own mother. "Good, Kalyong, you go do it right away. I won't take the tens of thousands in interest anymore." "Yes, Kyo-CA, just leave it to me." After saying that, Kalyong immediately called Harrison too. Very quickly, a middle-aged man with a pot belly and dark circles under his eyes, leading a pure and lovely-looking female student, arrived at the Diamond nightclub. Vivian asked a little shyly, "Dad, why don't you find someone else to help? Your friend is drunk. I'm afraid I can't support him." "Vivian, let me tell you the truth. This friend of mine can lead me to make money. As long as I help him, our family won't lack money in the future. Your mother also won't have to work day and night at that small diner, earning a few paltry coins." Vivian replied unhappily, "Since I was young, my tuition and living expenses have all been paid by Mom. Have you brought home a single penny? You should pay off all your debts before talking about Mom." After saying that, Vivian turned to leave. Harrison hurriedly stopped his daughter and begged, "Vivian, my good daughter, just help Dad this once. I promise you, after I make money, I'll buy you whatever you want." Vivian couldn't bear it and had to follow him up to the second floor, into a luxurious VIP room. As soon as she entered the door, she felt something was wrong. In the room, several young men with brightly colored dyed hair were puffing on cigarettes. Stepping inside, she almost choked on the smell of smoke. Kalyong saw Harrison too and immediately walked over. "Oh, brother too, you're here." Harrison too, his face beaming, was about to chat with Kalyong when Kalyong directly walked past him to Vivian. He sized her up from head to toe. "This is your daughter? She's really beautiful. Your wife didn't cuckold you, did she? Look at your face. How could you have such a beautiful daughter?" "Brother Kai, what are you joking about?" Harrison too smiled obsequiously, deciding to use his daughter to divert everyone's attention. He bent down and whispered into Vivian's ear, "Vivian, this is Brother Kai. Quickly greet him." At this moment, Vivian's eyes were already red. She glared at Harrison too. Dad, didn't you say your friend was drunk and needed my help? Who among them is drunk? Hearing this, Harrison too was embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. Kao Yang immediately pretended to be drunk, staggering. Oh dear, little sister, your dad is right. I'm drunk. I'm drunk, see? Ha ha ha. Brother Kai, great acting. More than a dozen thugs, including Blake Bai, watched the fun with amusement. I'm leaving. Dad, you stay here by yourself. Vivian said to Harrison too and turned her on. But Kao Yang grabbed her hair, pulled her back, and sneered. Since you're here, have a few drinks with us. I don't know how to drink. Let me go. Vivian struggled, looking to her father for help, but what she received was his beastly reply. Vivian, just have a few drinks with them. After it's done, Dad will take you home. Harrison, too. You make your own daughter drink with others. Are you even human? Vivian exploded, tears streaming down. Oh dear, little sister, why are you crying? Don't be afraid. I'll help you get revenge. Kao Yang said, while wiping Vivian's tears. Then he suddenly turned 180 degrees and kicked Harrison to far away. Hee, little sister, let me tell you the truth. Your dad owes us 400,000. Including interest, it's 650,000. He has already sold you to us. Huh. Seeing the situation, Vivian could only act fierce. If you dare to touch me, my boyfriend won't let you off. Hearing this, the thugs, instead of being scared, burst out laughing. Blake Bai, smoking a cigar, asked, Little sister, is your boyfriend named Ethan Yi? Yes, my boyfriend is Ethan Yi. He practices martial arts and is very good at fighting. After hearing this, Blake Bai laughed so hard he bent over. Vivian asked confusedly, What are you laughing at? Little sister, that boyfriend of yours is very good at fighting. We've already experienced that. But what's the use? Let me tell you the truth. Ethan Yi is now in the emergency room. But 8 times out of 10, he can't be saved anymore. Vivian was stunned. Emergency room? You, what did you do to him? Blake Bai didn't answer, but waved his hand, signaling everyone to go out. Kao Yang waved his hand, giggling, and led the underlings and Harrison to away. Nancy Wong, seeing this, could only sigh. She walked straight out of the nightclub, went outside to smoke, and while smoking, saw a familiar face approaching. She was stunned, then pointed at Ethan Yi and stammered, You, why are you still alive? It seems you also had a hand in poisoning me, huh? Nancy Wong knew Ethan Yi was very formidable, hurriedly threw away her cigarette, and shook her head vigorously. No, I only knew about it. I didn't participate. That's right. Your girlfriend is up there. Blake Bai is about to make a move on her. Hearing this, Ethan Yi was a little confused. Since when did he have a girlfriend? He immediately asked, Who are you talking about? Vivian. Isn't she your girlfriend? Vivian. Hearing this name, he frowned. Then he quickly walked in the nightclub. Nancy Wong also hurriedly followed. In the luxurious VIP room, Blake Bai was drinking and looking at Vivian with a smile. Help! Help! Vivian cowered in the corner, scared, crying for help, tears streaming down her face. Go ahead, call. Call as much as you want. Even if you scream your throat hoarse, no one will come to save you. This is my territory. As Blake Bai spoke, he extended his claws toward Vivian. But the girl was quick-witted and suddenly dodged, desperately running towards the door of the VIP room. Unfortunately, her hair was too long, and Blake Bai grabbed it, pulling her back forcefully. Slap! Blake Bai slapped her so hard it felt like the sky was falling. She fell onto the sofa, her head spinning. Damn it! Still dare to play cat and mouse with me? Blake Bai spat, about to commit a despicable act, when suddenly there was a commotion outside the VIP room, screams and kicking sounds. But just a second later, it fell silent. Blake Bai opened the door and roared, Kao Yang, what the hell are you doing? But when he looked out, he was stunned, because in the hallway, his underlings were lying scattered, groaning. A familiar young face turned towards him. Blake Bai, terrified, stammered, You, why are you here? He spoke calmly. I remember I warned you. Don't mess with Mei Li's diner. Otherwise, I'll smash your dog head. You don't seem to have listened. Blake Bai was an old monster nascent soul stage. He originally didn't want to kill mortals on Blue Star. But if these pests kept provoking him again and again, he would have to send them to see King Yama. Blake Bai thought he had already died from poisoning. He never expected that not only was he unharmed, but he had also wiped out his lackeys. He was just about to beg for mercy, but before the words could leave his mouth, he seemed to teleport, appearing in front of him and punching him in the stomach. Among human internal organs, the liver is the softest. After taking this punch, the liver immediately ruptured, and fresh blood gushed out from Blake Bai's mouth. He knelt on the ground, in so much pain he couldn't utter a word. At this moment, Vivian woke up groggily and looked at him in surprise. He walked up to her, pressed his right hand gently on the back of her neck, causing her to faint. Then he said calmly, It's okay now. Go to sleep. Suddenly, Kao Yang rushed into the room with 2 lackeys. He didn't know where he got a pistol. With a gun in hand, Kao Yang was much more confident. He arrogantly glared at him. Nearby, Nancy Wong thought to herself, Oh no, this is bad. How could I forget Blake Bai has a pistol? Kao Yang turned his head. Oh oui, Chong, take Brother Kyo to the hospital. The 2 lackeys, hearing the order, were just about to act when he suddenly shouted, No one is leaving today. Damn it. You little brat. You think I'm holding a toy gun? After saying that, Kyle Yong released the safety of the gun, walked up to him, and growled, "Kneel down." He suddenly moved like a ghost, appearing behind Kyle Yong. "Who did you tell to kneel?" Kyle Yong was startled and quickly turned around, but he had disappeared again. He could only point the gun around randomly, but couldn't find his figure at all. A second later, his calm voice echoed throughout the room. "Do you really think having a gun in your hand makes you invincible? Foolish mortal, you have no idea how insignificant you are. In my eyes, you're no different from an ant on a tree." Seeing this, Kyle Yong frantically fired shots randomly. "You bastard, I'll shoot you dead." But after firing a few shots, his voice suddenly fell silent. A crisp sound of breaking bone was heard, followed by Kyle Yang's tragic scream as he fell to the ground, his left arm broken at a 90-degree angle, bone piercing through the skin, blood gushing out. His gun fell to the ground. He casually picked it up, aimed at Kyle Yong, and pulled the trigger. Nancy Wong and the two lackeys screamed in terror and hurriedly tried to flee. But he suddenly reached out and grabbed the collars of the three, and they were immediately pulled back by an invisible force, falling to the ground. The two lackeys got up, knelt before him, and kowtowed repeatedly, begging for their lives. "Big brother, we didn't do anything." Nancy Wong also begged, "Brother Fan, I was also forced by Blake by. I'm also a victim. It really has nothing to do with me. The injustice has a source. The debt has a debtor. I'm not interested in you." He couldn't look at them and fired another shot, shattering Kyle Yang's head. Blood splattered on Nancy Wong's face, leaving her completely stunned. Too ruthless. This person is definitely not an ordinary student. Blake Bai, who had been in the underworld for decades, wouldn't dare to do this. Most importantly, this young man was ruthless, but his eyes were extremely calm, as if he had just stepped on two ants by the roadside. He held the unconscious Vivian in his arms, turned his head, and asked, "What happened here tonight? If anyone asks, what should you say?" The two lackeys were bewildered and didn't know how to answer. But Nancy Wong quickly replied, "It was Blake Bai and Kyle Yong who had a conflict." Kyle Yong got angry, went upstairs, got a gun, shot Blake Bai dead, and then committed suicide out of fear of punishment. The two lackeys hurriedly chimed in. Yes, that's how it was." He nodded, held Vivian, and left. Actually, even if someone investigated and found out the truth, he wasn't afraid. At worst, he would just spend some spiritual energy to cast a few memory-erasing spells. However, he was a bit averse to trouble. After he left, Nancy Wong looked at Kyle Yong and Blake Bai lying in a pool of blood and swallowed nervously. He took Vivian back to Mei Lee's diner, handed her over to Mei Lee, and then left. Although he wasn't someone who enjoyed killing, having roamed the Little South Heaven realm for 2,000 years, the number of people he had killed was at least 8,000, if not 100,000. Killing two small-time thugs was nothing to him. Returning to Peony Garden Villa, it was already 2:30 a.m. He took a shower and went to bed. Perhaps because he had used his spiritual sense last night, injuring his primordial spirit, he slept straight through until 10 a.m. the next day. Today was the weekend. Sherry Sue and Kara Dang were both at home. Seeing him get up, Kara Dang hurriedly ran to him. "Captain Power, why did you get up so late today? You usually get up at 5 or 6 in the morning." He yawned and replied, "It's the weekend, so I slept in a bit." Then, he reached out and patted Kara Dang's head, then turned and went into the bathroom to wash his face. But this unexpectedly intimate action made Kara Dang blush, her heart pounding. The usually lively and quick-witted girl suddenly became shy and awkward. For some reason, seeing him being so close to Kara Dang, Sherry Sue felt strangely uncomfortable. She thought to herself, "Am I really that unlikable?" Actually, this was just Ethan Ye's habit. In the Little South Heaven realm, he had a junior sister whose aptitude was as ordinary as his, but she was very hardworking. This junior sister was small and petite, lively and quick-witted, just like Kara Dang. Every time he met her, he would pat her head to show affection. Over time, it became a habit. Speaking of which, although Earth was very safe, he also missed the Little South Heaven realm very much. After all, he had lived there for 2,000 years and had many close friends and memories. After he finished washing his face and came out, Kara Dang, like a little rabbit, hopped over and pulled him into the kitchen. A sumptuous breakfast was laid out on the dining table. Kara Dang pointed to the dining table. "Captain Power, look, this is the breakfast Sherry got up early and asked the maid to prepare for you." He knew Kara Dang was trying to mend a relationship between him and Sherry Sue. But Sherry Sue still maintained the arrogant demeanor of a young miss, refusing to back down. She tossed her hair, lifted her chin, and said, "Ethan Yee, thank you for saving us yesterday. You can stay here from now on for as long as you want." He picked up a shrimp dumpling and ate it, replying calmly, "I never said I was going to stay here." "You, what do you mean? Do I have to beg you? Every time you come downstairs, you walk very lightly. At night, you lock the door, and you secretly threw away all the food I left in the refrigerator. If it weren't for some special reasons, do you think I want to stay here?" Hearing him list her faults, Sherry Sue became angry. "Whether you want to stay or not is up to you. I wouldn't dream of kicking you out." After saying that, she angrily went upstairs. Kara Dang gave a wry smile. "I say, Captain Power, are you and Sherry's horoscopes clashing? Why do you always argue whenever you meet? He replied seriously, quite possibly. After breakfast, he went out to walk the dog. Of course, the dog he walked was Sherry Sue's Halem. Originally, this was done by the maid, but since he moved in, this responsibility was given to him. After a few encounters, Halem and he also became closer. As soon as it saw him, it would wag its tail excitedly. Today, Kara Dang went for a walk with him. The two of them strolled through the picturesque Peony Garden Villa. She looked at Halem and recounted, Halem was picked up by us on the roadside during a winter vacation in 11th grade. Its previous owner was a pervert who abused it all day. Sherry felt sorry for it, so she brought it home to raise. He nodded calmly. That evening, Kara Dang again tried to persuade the upset Sherry Sue. Sherry, how about you personally go to the kitchen tomorrow morning and cook noodle for Captain Power? Me? Cook for him? Am I sick? After all, Captain Power saved us. And he also saved Uncle Sue and Annie Kelly. That's a life-saving grace. Sherry Sue pouted. He was just lucky. Sherry, I think Captain Power is dissatisfied because you didn't show your gratitude sincerely enough. How much is a breakfast worth? Besides, it was made by the maid. Then what do you want me to do? Do I have to repay him with my body? Dream on. What are you thinking? I mean, you should cook breakfast yourself. That will definitely move Captain Power. After hearing this, Sherry Sue thought for a long time and then reluctantly agreed. The next morning, Sherry Sue looked up recipes online while asking the maid for guidance. Finally, she managed to cook a bowl of tomato and egg noodles. But she found he had already gone out early, which almost made her die of anger. He went to the food street for breakfast, then strolled around the Diamond Club, and found that the place had been sealed off because a murder had occurred. A notice of temporary business suspension was posted on the door. But he heard arguing inside. An aggressive voice came from the lobby. Blake Bai is dead. Nancy Wong. Do you think a woman like you can keep Diamond? Today, whether you sign or not, you have to sign. More than a dozen thugs stood behind a man in a suit, most of them with tattoos, looking like gangsters at first glance. Nancy Wong stood next to the reception desk, glaring at the man in the suit. Derek Zhang, you 4C's gang, don't go too far. Diamond is now in my name. Even if I die, I won't sell it to you. If you're so capable, then kill me. You think I don't dare? The man named Derek Zhang stepped forward, grabbed Nancy Wong by the neck, and pointed to the contract on the reception desk. Sign it for me. Otherwise, I'll have people guard here 24/7, making it so you can't go anywhere for the rest of your life. Fine. Then you just guard here all day. Who's afraid of whom? Slap. Derek Zhang slapped Nancy Wong, sending her sprawling to the ground. You think I don't dare? Let me show you the power of the 4C's gang. Nancy Wong clutched her face, both in pain and fear, but she didn't know what to do. Derek Zhang rubbed his chin sinisterly and said, What to do? What do you think? Nancy Wong, I heard you were forced by Blake Bai. He kept you for so many years without changing. You must have some skills, right? Nancy Wong gritted her teeth and glared at Derek Zhang, her whole body trembling with anger, yet helpless. Just then, the door of the Diamond Club slowly opened. A curious face peeked in, muttering, What's going on here? Nancy Wong saw him, and her eyes lit up as if seeing a savior. She shouted, Ethan Yee, run. Call the police. They want to kill me. The few 4C's gang thugs guarding the door saw this, and were about to chase him away. But hearing Nancy Wong shout like that, they immediately blocked him. Derek Zhang pointed at him and said in a low voice, This kid is definitely one of Blake Bai's men. Bring him in. And so, he was escorted into the lobby by several 4C's gang thugs. Nancy Wong looked a little guilty and didn't dare to look him straight in the eye, because her act of calling for help just now was actually using him. Derek Zhang stood in front of him and asked with interest, Kid, are you here to find Nancy Wong? What's your relationship with her? He replied calmly, Me and her? What relationship could I possibly have with her? No relationship at all. Derek Zhang was clearly not satisfied with this answer. Huh, no relationship? I think. You're the pretty boy she's keeping at school. Derek Zhang finished speaking and turned to look at Nancy Wong. You shameless woman, taking men's money to keep young pretty boys at school. You really have no shame. Blake must have a whole field of green hats on his head, right? Huh. Nancy Wong hugged Derek Zhang's leg and begged. Brother Zhang, I beg you, please let him go. He has nothing to do with this. He's still a student. Hearing this, Ethan Yee was momentarily speechless. This woman was really good at acting. The more she said this, the less likely Derek Zhang would let him go. This way, he would have no choice but to act. What clear plan? Get lost. Derek Zhang kicked Nancy Wong aside. Then he intended to teach him a lesson to force her to sign the contract. But before he could make a move, he waved his hand and slapped him. Thwack! The sound was like a firecracker. Derek Zhang flew far away, 2 front teeth falling out with him, and hit the wall hard, in so much pain he couldn't get up for a long time. The 4C's gang lackeys were all so scared they were stunned, unable to react for a long time. How was this kid so powerful? Is he Superman? Nancy Wong, seeing this, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He walked straight up to her, glared coldly at Nancy Wong, and said, You dare to use me? Brother Fan? I didn't. Nancy Wong, of course, wouldn't admit it. Instead, she put on an innocent and guiltless expression. At this moment, Derek Zhang's angry voice sounded, Kill him for me. More than a dozen 4C's gang thugs, hearing the order, rushed forward simultaneously. He suddenly shouted, "Get lost!" The shout carried a trace of true chi, forming a visible shockwave that sent the 4C's gang thugs flying. 15 or 16 people fell to the ground, blood simultaneously flowing from their ears, groaning incessantly. Some even fainted on the spot. Nancy Wong also clutched her ears, looking extremely pained. Luckily, Ethan Yi had his back to her. Otherwise, she might have been concussed to death. Derek Zheng, standing furthest away, pointed at him, terrified, and stammered, "Impossible." He glanced at him. "Told you to get lost, and you didn't listen? Don't you understand human language? Oof. Go, go, go. Quick." Derek Zheng hurriedly led his lackeys to flee, not daring to stay for even a second. After they left, Nancy Wong knelt before him, crying and saying, "Brother Fan, from now on, I'll be your woman. Get lost. Who wants you?" He cursed in annoyance, then glanced around. "What's the situation here now? Where are Blake Bai's lackeys?" Nancy Wong replied weakly, They're all in the hospital." Hearing this, he turned to leave. "Then I'm going." "Wait." Nancy Wong suddenly remembered something and hurriedly chased after him. "Brother Fan, how about you take over Blake Bai's gang? The underworld has always been a place where the strong rule. Blake Bai was... Oh no, he passed away unexpectedly. Then you naturally become the boss of Blake Bai's gang. I'll also offer you the shares of the Diamond Club with both hands. What do you think?" He replied calmly, "Not very good." Nancy Wong was stunned. The Diamond Club was the largest nightclub in the West City District, with nightly revenue reaching several 100,000 yuan. Plus the few food streets near the university, it had made countless gangs in Qingzhou covet it. Yet Ethan Yi showed no interest. Nancy Wong thought he didn't understand, so she explained in detail the benefits of becoming a gang boss. "Brother Fan, as long as you become the boss of Blake Bai's gang, no one will dare to cause trouble for Mei Li's diner anymore." He shook his head. "Too troublesome. Right now, I just want to focus on my studies." Nancy Wong was a bit speechless. "Studies? Studies? After you graduate, can you earn $1 million a month?" He smiled. "Then why don't you be the boss?" Hearing this, Nancy Wong was stunned. "Huh? Me be the boss? Isn't this club in your name? Just be the boss while you're at it. What's the big deal?" Nancy Wong was still a little hesitant. She had altered Blake Bai's will, so the Diamond Club belonged to her. But being a boss, she had never really thought about it. A second later, her eyes lit up, and she had a good idea. "Brother Fan, how about this? I'll manage the Diamond Club, and we'll split the profits 50-50. But if something like today happens, you have to come and help me. Otherwise, I'm a helpless girl." He found it a bit funny. "You're already quite old. What girl are you talking about?" "Well, whatever you want. But don't call me for every little thing. I'm not good at it." "Really? Brother Fan." "Thank you, Brother Fan." Nancy Wong bowed repeatedly, feeling that by following such a powerful person as Ethan Yi, she would definitely have a promising future. Then, she asked for his phone number and soon proactively transferred him a round sum of 3 million yuan. This was only half of the cash in the Diamond Club's account. One could imagine how much dirty money Blake Bai had amassed over the years by tyrannizing the West City area near the university and extorting businesses. In addition, he also gave Nancy Wong a strange task, to help him purchase fresh ghost hand green mushrooms from Lingnan, because he wanted to eat them, and moreover, he had to eat them every day. After the military training ended, Qingzhou University held a sports meet. The second clinical class became lively. He, as usual, would either sleep with his head on the desk or be engrossed in reading novels when he came class. The teacher talked to him, saying he wouldn't be able to graduate like this. He just hummed in agreement, not paying any attention. At this moment, a beautiful female student wearing a white shirt, her hair tied in a ponytail, walked up to him with a registration form. "Classmate Ethan Yi, which event do you want to register for?" This girl's name was Hannah Zhang, the class monitor of the second clinical class, from Qingzhou, with a very good family background. "Register? I don't plan to register." Hannah Zhang was firm. "No." The head teacher stipulated that every male student in the class must register for at least one event. Even Fatty Fong registered for the high jump. "You can't be an exception." A hint of helplessness showed at the corner of his mouth. "But I'm really not interested. Letting a nascent soul stage cultivator like him participate in the school sports meet? If he accidentally broke a world record, wouldn't that be very troublesome?" "Hannah, Zhang didn't give up. During military training, you were so formidable. Even the instructor was defeated by you. Why is it so difficult when it comes to participating in the sports meet? There are no push-ups in the sports meet. If there were, I would have participated." Hannah Zhang was so angry she gritted her teeth. The vice class monitor, Kevin Liu, standing beside her, spoke up. "Forget it, Hannah. This kind of person is a typical example of someone with no team spirit. Selfish." "Class monitor, don't worry. My roommates and I, and the room next door have already discussed it thoroughly. We'll take care of the second clinical class's ranking in the sports meet." Fatty Fong, sitting next to him, whispered to Shan Zhang. This vice class monitor really likes to show off. Shan Zhang, on the other hand, was curious. Ethan Yi is so good at push-ups, his physical strength must be pretty good. Why doesn't he want to participate in the sports meet? It's clearly a good opportunity to show off. Hannah Zhang looked at Kevin Liu gratefully. "Thank you for supporting my work.